There was a discussion about this on the forums, right? And we have some of the wisest people who use the HLTV.org forums. So I read them all the time. I love to digest their opinions. And there was this opinion that I saw because the discussion was around MOUZ and why they don't have any fans. The thread could have even been like, why hate MOUZ? That could have been the name of it. But this comment, and I don't remember the user who made it, he said, people cheer for legends, stars, or underdogs, and MOUZ are none of them.
That's a fucking banger.
Hey, big news for you HLTV Confirmed enjoyers. We've got a new sponsor, Stake. And thanks to them, our What Are the Odds segment just got a whole lot better. Now, the wagers from What Are the Odds become real limited bets on the Stake platform. Not only that, but each wager will feature a $500 lucky winner raffle. Visit the link for more details.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans around the globe, welcome back to an episode of HLTV Confirmed. Had a bit of a bigger break from last episode, but, you know, there was a lot of Counter-Strike going on. We want to pack it into a 2-hour special here today. I've got Prof, I've got Striker, I've got Lucas on the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. And you at home are going to be watching exclusively on Kick. We'll be streaming the live episode of HLTV Confirmed on Kick. But you'll still be able to get it on Spotify, YouTube, the other platforms that you were able to listen to the VODs on demand. That's what it stands for, video on demand. Also, shout out to our sponsor, Stake. So Kick and Stake are the sponsors right now. Some chopping and changing in that regard. Prof, there's going to be a lot of angry people out there. Do you want to acknowledge those people, or do you want to allow them just to be mad?
I mean, TLDR, as I wrote in the comment on HLTV, you know, Twitch hasn't supported esports, especially Counter-Strike, for quite a few years. So we went to another place where people do. That's kind of the long and the short of it. It is obviously less, how would I say, less convenient to have it exclusively on one platform, but it is, you know, as it goes with everything in waves. We spoke about it before. It happened in the past with CS on Face It video. Not Face It, Facebook. That was a time.
There's a YouTube period as well. Realistically,
Kick and Twitch are pretty much the same platform. So, but using it is pretty okay. And honestly, there has been more exclusive Kick content, and there will probably be even more moving forward for CS. So it is, I guess, just a place where people will probably get used to it. And if they don't and they don't like it, that's also fine. They can just watch it somewhere else later.
Watch it later. I think one of the interesting parts with this, and that you touched on there, is in terms of other events. Like we see Fragadelphia, they've gone with Kick. There's some murmurs about other events. I know that some of the TOs that exist now have also had conversations with Kick. I think one of the hardest things to do is to change users' viewing habits, right? I think that's a very, very difficult thing to do, and that's why you do tend to get a lot of pushback and a lot of people upset with it. But the content will still be available where it was, just not live. So that's,
the thing is, there's also almost no other podcast does a live component anyway. They just go straight to YouTube. So like this is kind of a bonus part of it anyway.
Yeah, and then you can all make a new accounts on Kick to abuse us in Twitch chat, you know, to talk about, oh man, Chad doesn't look like he goes outside, or what the fuck is this haircut? Or,
I don't know what's going on. You look like you just, I don't know, like you just went fishing. Like from the pro bass shop. That's where you're at.
I don't want to get a haircut right now because it's like 2 weeks until I have to go to an event. So if I get a haircut now, then I'm going to get another haircut just before I have to go. And my hair's like super long. So if I have it off, people are going to be like, what the fuck is this haircut right now? So I just put the hat on.
Do the show, man.
What, with the crazy hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The hat
back to 2015.
All right, well, let's get into things because I think we have a lot to talk about on today's episode. There's a lot of fun, different topics across the board. We will initially get into one of the replies to us going exclusive on Kick, which is where that someone did tell us to keep ourselves safe. So shout out to that guy. I saw that Twitter, they disallowed the comment. They said it violated some rules. So I don't know why. They did just tell us to keep ourselves safe. So that's a bit of a shame. Prof, what are you wearing?
shirt.
Is this a new piece? What is this?
No, this was something we did with Launders, but never became a thing. It's just like a few shirts that were meant like a test that was like, I don't actually like this. And then I put it on a shelf and I was like, maybe I'll wear it to a gym. And then after a while, I actually started liking it. So, didn't, in the end, it worked out. We still did some stuff together, but this one is just now a 1 out of 1 HLTV t-shirt.
Okay. It looked exclusive. It definitely did. Okay, let's jump into it, shall we? Because the most recent tournament that's come to its conclusion, it finished on Sunday. Right now, we are live on Thursday, just before FISSURE is about to begin tomorrow. But Blast London was the last event, arena event. Overall, boys, when you tuned into that one, the Friday, I think, was a classic Friday, wasn't it? The turnout was pretty meek, which is expected. I also know that there was some train strikes going on in the weekend that I was conveyed to by Harry Russell, and I saw Blast making some tweets about it. But by the grand final day and some exciting Counter-Strike, seemed like a pretty good event, right? Going back to the UK, going to Wembley, which we've been to before. Striker, how was your viewing experience overall?
Yeah, I didn't actually watch that much of the Friday, but I did see a couple of, a couple of maps, like one map from each series. But yeah, as the weekend hit, I think we pretty much got what we expected out of Wembley. We always get it. I think kind of the negativity was a little bit overblown just because of the first day, and then people forgot all about it once we hit the final day where it was pretty much packed, and the atmosphere was there. So good viewing experience, I would say, maybe apart from that Friday.
We have a lot of the classic tropes at the moment, though, right? Like one of them was just what we were talking about in terms of people being upset about the kick exclusivity, right? So it's the same kind of thing. It's the same, comments that you see popping up on forums and threads and on Twitter. But overall, I also think that it's tough when your first game of the day was M80 versus MOUZ, which is it's hard to get a lot of people to turn out for that. There's not a huge support base for M80 because they're not a top tier team, and then you also have MOUZ who going to watch your grandma play fucking, what's the game with the ball that you whack?
I thought you want to say bridge, but
that's
I feel
boring
like,
too. Yeah, lawn bowls, something that's boring.
At least they have a British coach, man. I mean,
no.
Maybe of course not.
Yeah.
Those.
No one wants to see grandmas playing with balls. Like that's really not really a top tier entertainment.
I don't know if you can watch that on Kick, but I do know a couple of websites I could send you to if that's your preference, everybody. But yeah, I think that obviously that doesn't help the case as well as a few But I think that's it. That's one thing that we just need to embrace, Prof. In my opinion, is some days people are going to be there and some days people aren't going to be there. And if people want to buy tickets, they want to buy tickets. That's all it is. We can't expect it to be fucking packed on a Friday at 4:00 in the afternoon, or am I wrong?
No, I mean, as long as we get to the final and it's packed, I think that's fine. Like when we get to a final and it's not packed and it's only packed for one game or a quarterfinal of a domestic team, that's kind of shit, if you ask me. But we get the final, we get a G2, an underdog team, but a team that people like, I guess, to a large degree still, and then Vitality, which is the best team of the year so far. So I think if you have that kind of a game and it's not filled out in a good vibe, then that is I don't want to say problematic. You can put a tournament anywhere in the world if people pay for it, but it doesn't really give the same amount of prestige. I think this is something that's going to maybe later when we talk about tournaments, it's something to consider. Like if it's a big crowd, it just makes it more valuable, I think, at the end of the day, to the players as well and to the viewers at home. It just makes it more of a spectacle. So it's kind of that. I
just have something that before we get into talking about the teams, it's a bit more, this is just event itself as opposed to specific matchups or the Counter-Strike. I did think that the Blast intro things were pretty Mickey Mouse. It didn't feel like a polished high caliber Blast arena event normally does. I want to make sure that I do say good stuff because I also think there's lots of good stuff that Blast do. I think their replays are the best right now. I think the way that they integrate different stats into their HUD is the best right now. The
BTRAM stuff, that was great.
The notes, really good.
That was really nice stuff. Some of it, very let's say niche and all that stuff, and not very useful, but a lot of it, I actually learned something. It was really cool.
Yeah, some of them work. I think there was one point where Launders said, I think this is ZywOo's worst start to a map in the year or something. and he was able to go through quickly within a round or two and get that, because like something with zero.
That should be a staple of broadcasts. You know, for there to be somebody who just will be able to fact check whatsoever, like whatever they need within, you know, on an ask. So that's really great stuff.
Yeah. We've had a bloke called Essio. I'm sure you guys are quite familiar with Ben in the past, and he's done stuff where we even had a cast a dashboard. ESL don't have it anymore. Like they need to make us a new one, but he would actually be able to push stats and stuff to that dashboard, because some of the things like opening kills on HLTV, sometimes you're at an event where the game isn't live, and it's not arena events. Arena events are live, but some of these events you get, and there's a slight delay. Like what we did at EWC, we were, I think, like 3 or 4 minutes ahead of what was live. So trying to look at HLTV to look at the opening kills and deaths, it was off. So I was having to like fucking manually count. And before, like Ben's been able to push those stats and stuff through. So anyway, yeah, just wanted to touch on that. Should we get into the CS?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So let's start with Prof's done the topic list. So Prof, you've written here, G2 victory. We saw this coming. Now there's a lot of self-blazing.
I didn't even realize I made a pun there as well.
Yeah. Well, look, there's been a lot of self-glazing. Everybody wanting to be like, I called Heavy God as the GOAT first, or I said this G2 looks fucking sick first. Are we jumping on that bandwagon right now? Are we tooting our own horn?
Yeah. I was just gonna say, Sponge is the one who's been like tooting their horn on privately, or at least G2's.
I've been glazing hard.
Yeah, extreme glaze.
You haven't really, you know, made this such a big thing publicly, I feel like, but on you know, WhatsApp, you're always like, oh my God, G2 is so good. And then they win a tournament. What's that about?
Look, sorry, I just saw what Prof sent me on WhatsApp, so I'll return to that later, Prof. I apologize.
No, that's fine. You did a great. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
When I watched them play Striker, I just enjoyed the ideas that they had, and I looked at the player complexion, and I know they can all shoot. But I was more excited by the ideas. I've been talking to the FlyQuest guys a bit more recently, and you know, just I'm looking at more detail and kind of stuff like, hey boys, maybe you should look at this, and talking with you know who their new coach might be and all this. So I've been kind of geeking out a little bit more hard, and I don't know. I just really have liked the ideas that G2 have that enable them to play off of each other. I didn't expect them to win a trophy this soon. I'll be completely honest. Like the expectation for them to win a trophy this early was never on my bingo card. But just for them to play exciting Counter-Strike and for it to make sense. Like every round they go in, they have an idea. They're able to reset. Like it was such simple stuff. And I know this sounds really pedestrian, but you don't see this with all teams. On Ancient, there was a round, they went to go do like a B-pop, and Heavy God's the last guy who's going to be setting up with util. But his like waypoints of, okay, so, well, they smoke doors, so I hold a flash in case they push so I can flash for my boys. Okay, now we've established control. He moves into the next spot, or I've got this next flash ready if they call for it. Okay, they don't. Now we're going to execute. And it's stuff like that which seems so simple, but a lot of players are lacking in those areas. And whether or not it's just the players who have quite a high Counter-Strike IQ, or Saw is done a very good job of getting them all on the same page of how to approach these situations. G2 just play a pretty comprehensive game of CS that once you do get into the magic moments, you get a fucking MOUZ crazy double, a Mattis aggressive move, right? You get Hunter in a clutch, you get Heavy God with the correct timing push, and it all works really well. And it's just been enjoyable Counter-Strike to watch overall. So yeah, I didn't expect them to win a tournament this quickly, but I did like the type of Counter-Strike they were playing. And I would like them to be a staple because they play exciting CS. So shout out to Saw and the boys over there.
Yeah, I mean, let this sink in, right? They won more tournaments than Falcons did since they got Nico and m0NESY back together, you know? So that's just something, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the big things, Prof. That comparison was definitely being made a lot. I don't know if that was a community thing. It was definitely being made a lot during the cast. Was that the main storyline for you? Because to me, I guess I just kind of moved past these things quite quickly.
You just moved on.
I just wanted to point that out because it's kind of cool, you know, just because everybody's like, oh, they lost m0NESY and Nico, G2's done, all that.
But you weren't the only one riding and dying on that. Like, I'm not saying that's your like hard opinion or anything, Striker. Other people were like bringing that up as like that was the main talking point. Maybe it is the main talking point. Maybe
I don't think it is, to be fair. I mean, the main talking point should be more the recovery rather than what was, right? And what's in another team. So I think, like, in terms of, you know, giving them their flowers, I think there's plenty to give around. Like, you can talk about Saw. I do think that maybe it's a bit too fast for it to just be Saw. I think it is just a good constellation of players. It could be down to just the scouting, right? And like getting the right pieces together, and they all fit in a way, that works. So of course, like there's a lot of credit to Saw there, but it's got to be just a lot of like the individuals just doing the right stuff on their own as well, because I feel like we don't really see teams get it right so quickly usually, especially when you have so many changes happen at the same time, and I don't think that comes down to a honeymoon period or anything, because they weren't like they were interesting to watch. They were a good team, just they weren't this G2 that we saw just this last tournament, right? Early on. So I don't think it's a honeymoon period. I think it's more of a more of a peak, an individual peak at the right time, and like all of them kind of hitting all at the same time type of thing. I was kind of concerned about how they would use Matusz specifically, because he had to move around to a lot of more lurky spots, some of the more mid-round stuff. But he used to be a really aggressive guy early round, but he's just moved that aggression to mid-round, basically, where he's had to move to more to the sides, right? And then he just finds some creative ways to just find his space anyway. It's just in a different point of the round, It was really cool to watch him on that Inferno, getting some of these multis that like just turned.
The one at Long, where they and he got the third kill. I was like, what the fuck? How's he gone and done that?
Like, I mean, the skill on that team is pretty crazy. I mean, it is a lot down to the fact that like their success is a lot down to the fact that they did make it work as a structure. But I think there's no denying that this team has crazy amount of skill.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, because the conversation now, Proforma, we're in this era where we've had a bunch of teams win trophies now. We've had the Mongolz, now we've had G2. Vitality are yet to win one, even though they're still having a stunning season with like semifinals as well as this grand final in this account. But the conversation immediately goes to, well, they're not going to do it again, right? And we're in a period of time where I think it's going to be tough to see one team dominating like we had at the start of the year. I think we're already halfway through this season, right? So what do you feel about this G2? Do you think it has legs, or do you think it was like, I've seen some people comparing it to Na'Vi, some people being like, yeah, it needs to be the perfect environment for them to play like this. Do you feel those comparisons?
Honestly, I don't know who I would compare them to. Like the way they play the CT side, and you were geeking out about this a bit when we were talking, is like it's so proactive. There's so many layers to what they're doing. They're like very disruptive, very like fight. What is the opposite of phobic? They just love to fight. They want to go for duels all the time. And there seems to be, even when you're watching the game, you're like, they're going for this crunch in mid with like 3 guys or whatever. And then the fight's happening and they're kind of losing the fight. And then you just realize there's 2 more guys that are already there. Like as a viewer, it seems almost like too much. You can't understand how many layers they have as a viewer. So you can imagine how it is to play against that, to be like, okay, there's 3 guys here. The other guys are probably like just like holding the extremities. No, they're also here. Now they are fighting. And then you lose the round to like the unexpected 4th guy pushing short or whatever. So I think that is a type of Counter-Strike that I always appreciated, and you rarely see it. That also reminds me mostly of like Twist's Liquid recently, when they came together, when he was just started IGLing.
Okay.
They wanted to play like this kind of like very disruptive CT side, but it very quickly just fizzled out. And I'm not sure exactly why. But I think it's a hard style to be long-term consistent at, for like a few reasons. I think you need to have very good chemistry between the players, because essentially any player can just do a suicide, like can just die for the team at any point. It has to be ready to do that. And as soon as someone is hesitating, the whole thing is just falling apart. So that's why I think obviously this team it's very balanced. Like there is no one that's like bigger than the team. Even MOUZ said in some interview, there's no ego or whatever. Like there is no one that you can point out and be like, this guy needs to be set up better. It's like no one really cares, or should they? From what we know, everyone should just play for the team. But you also need to be a really good individual. Everyone needs to be on a pretty good level for it to also make work. Otherwise, someone's just going to be dying all the time. And then I think that these 2 things they have pretty good, and I think they will have it for a longer time. But the longevity part is more about how will people adapt to it, because obviously they are leaving some gaps that right now people aren't exploiting, and the question is how much they will be able to exploit. But right now people are I feel like playing against them kind of like they're a normal team, but they're not fully. I think they're pushing things to like an extreme where, let's say even if this tournament was like a full LAN or like a heavier format like FISSURE is, for example, with a lot of games to play, I think it would be more difficult for them to win. I'm not saying this in any way to be like, this was a fluke or something like this, because they won a best of 5 against the Vitality on stage, which is pretty serious. But I think they will be tested a bit more because of their playstyle in the upcoming tournaments. As similar on the T side, they also did a bunch of things that are like on a weird timing, faster paced, grouped up. Yeah. There's a lot of things like this, and it's not necessarily like, this is bad Counter-Strike, but it's Counter-Strike that it's not as easy to be long-term
hard to replicate,
consistent.
I think. Yeah. Okay.
That's why the best teams that we always have are just teams that can play kind of default and then do anything from that.
I don't know. When I'm looking at Vitality play, for example, and G2 in a similar fashion, default needs to be your base, but I think the amount of variation that you can have is something that I think is quite key at the moment too. I think if you're a team who's trying to crack into a top 20 team, what is important to have as a strength is default, right? Because then you know how to react in all different scenarios. You look at a team though like 3D Max, whose default I would say is pretty poor, but they're very good at being explosive with like pace changes and gimmicks on the CT side. And they can win games just off of that because, you win the pistol, you win the force, you win the first gun round, then second gun round, you run like a gimmick based off of how you won that first gun round. Okay, you're already fucking 5-1, 6-1 into a half, right? Like you're able to really snowball those situations. So I think that the balance at the moment, and this is one of the things you hear from players a lot who come out and go, I like MR15 because you can recover. What it means is if you like make a mistake or you make the wrong call, you stack the wrong site and you sacrifice all your guns because you go for a round when probably you should have saved, the game can just fucking slip away from you. You can't make as many mistakes. That's super apparent. And I think if you're setting the tempo with the changes of these like 4-1s or like 3-2 kind of into pretty quick splits and you're winning those rounds, like that's the mental warfare of in-game leaders. You're kind of trying to see what the puzzle looks like on the other side. So I definitely agree. The default base is huge. You have to have that. That's what Counter-Strike is fundamentally built on in the upper echelons. Yeah. Look, we are going to talk about the FISSURE event later, right? So G2 will be a feature in that conversation. So I think we should talk about them more now because I feel like there's a few more things to talk about. At least I want to put out right now. I think it's the whole like SAW conversation, which I think he's great, but I also feel like he's getting a bit too much credit in this victory. And kind of what Striker said is like, it can't all be the coach, is your sentiment,
he can't
right?
be all, especially if you watch that Inferno game, for example. It's like he has 3 timeouts and 1 in overtime or whatever. And you have rounds where they're playing these 2-2 T-side splits and like faking out teams and like doing like late executes on the wrong bomb site and stuff like that. That can't be. I don't believe SAW can call you into that position. So I feel like we need to give respect the underdog, also respect the caller in the team, which is Hunter in this case. Maybe it's also other players chipping in with the ideas. I can't really put it 100% on him, but he is the IGL, and from what we know, he is calling most of the shots. So I want to give some credit, a good amount of credit to him. And I'm not saying this to take away from SAW, but I just feel like it's being like glossed over that there's actually 5 players in this team that actually played on the server. It's like, he has a lot of credit for putting this team together, and that is without a doubt, he put together a great team and like made a system that works for them. But someone actually needed to make those decisions, and I think it was a very impressive first grand final showing from Hunter, who, to be honest, always big balls, big stage player. Also, thanks. He said thanks to the balls. After he won, that was a little, Freudian slip out there, but it was nice to see.
Good showing of personality there too. Striker, where do you fall on this, right? Because I think that it's difficult to praise everything equally. While there's definitely, and we also don't know exactly who's responsible. But to win a trophy, it takes a team. It wasn't a carry effort. There was a lot of players. Even Sampaius, who's been the one under the most flack, had a massive performance in the semi-final match against FURIA. And I think there's another thing that goes undervalued of supportive AWPers who actually land their utility. Sampaya seems to land his utility, which is important. People will die if you miss your nade. So where do you land on this conversation, Striker?
Not on U-Box. Oh, no, you're not talking about that. Was Molly, sorry.
That was Vitality. I think it just speaks to a lot that, you know, we obviously had a lot of, or at least I had a lot of expectations for MOUZ when Nico left because of the positions that he came into, right? And it just speaks to a lot that he ended up being by far the lowest rated of their run in London, and they win in the fashion that they did, right? And even if you look at how he played, like the good maps he had was, let's say, like the comeback on Inferno against Vitality, a lot of it was him just trading deaths on Banana, basically, and it just like it turned out into 4v4s like 80% of the rounds or something like that, you know. So it was only late that he finally started having some like real impact on the round, or like, you know, actually deciding the rounds in his team's favor, like with some of those aggressive moves down there. And it just, like, the fact that everybody else turned up around him is what made this team work, right? Because we just saw that maybe he's not capable of carrying this team to the degree, obviously not to the degree that Nico did, you know, but at least to the degree that he did before, on top, and having like all his CT positions on top of it, you know. So that didn't really happen, and now that he just has so much more oomph behind him, you know, some of these aggressive moves that he does, like he always has like a couple of people supporting him in that, and so even if he goes 1-for-1, there's somebody behind him who can make up for that, or just decide the round on their own, you know. So I just like that part. In terms of like whether it's replicable, not replicable, it's always hard to tell. I do think that it's possible to play this consistently. We've seen it from teams like FaZe, who I think, I mean, even though the older G2, right, obviously they had a more top heavy composition in the past, but they still had a lot of pieces that could turn up on their own when they used to have hooks, like the Hooksy lineup with GKS, right? They had 4 pieces that could just turn up at any point. Now, obviously, Hunter's above that individually, you know, so like in terms of the balance of firepower, it's crazy. It's really good on this team. Like there's no real weakness. Obviously, there will be times now that Sampires especially has turned up a little bit more compared to the start. When there's nobody who you can exploit is just so difficult, and especially the way that they play, you know, what Prof was talking about with these CT sides being super heavy on rotations, really dynamic, you know, you're always looking for fights. You know, any move you make, you're always going to have 3+ people there. And that's something that we saw from FaZe. And like the FaZe G2 matchup, you know, that's why I was talking to you about, or I responded to you on Twitter. That grand final to me had FaZe versus G2 of 2 years ago written all over it, because they both play very like the dynamic between those teams is so similar, where they both just looking for fights. They constantly have like packs fighting each other on like one side of the map. It's very dynamic on CT sides, you know, where they are looking to disrupt, you know, all the time. Very individualistic, you know. So we've seen that happen in the past, and as Prof said, you know, as long as the individuals turn up, that will work. Now, is there like weakness to exploits? Of course, like, you know, what I was talking about with MOUZ on Inferno, you know, for example, it all was about the timings that they chose, but it was always kind of the same move, right? Like, so when you start figuring out, okay, what's the timing that they use, how can we exploit that, or what's the counter utility that we then can do so that they aren't allowed to do that next time, like that's when it's gonna like create more layers. But I think the style is not so erratic that there's not gonna be like possible to replicate.
And I feel like they'll adjust it depending on the opponents they play against, right? And their tendencies and everything. And when, so there's a lot that goes into this. One thing that I found as an interesting conversation that started was, oh, this team doesn't have any superstars. So like, Prof, do me a favor here. List like 5 Counter-Strike superstars. I mean,
I can do 2 right now.
Yeah,
and
just list some, but list some superstars.
Zywin Donk, that's
okay?
it.
But
yeah.
But m0NESY is meant to fall in the superstar category as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
like
Nico
is meant to fall in the superstar category.
Yeah, this year for m0NESY has been not that sexy, but last year for sure, yeah.
Sure, but like when people talk about these players, they categorize them as like superstars. That's kind of the way that happens, though. And then I think to myself, what are the attributes that determine if these players are superstars or not, right? Because it's not just about their fragging output in the server, right? It's also like to do with how they are as people, and the way that they're in interviews, and the way that they have impact on the scene. The way that they're able to have big moments in big games, right? The mental that's on display and those things. And the conversation with G2, it's like, they don't have any superstars. Well, for my thing, it's like, they don't have any superstars yet, right? All of these players shoot really hard. Like, they're individually very good. I also think that the personalities on these teams are quite nice. Like, I think Hunter's always been a guy that I've looked at and gone, yeah, this guy carries himself like a man, right? Like, you know, he's always been an adult. Ever since I've known Hunter in the Counter-Strike space, he's been an adult. And I look at that and I think he has some good qualities that people could look to just to be as humans, right? Then you have like people like Heavy God, Heavy God seems like a really nice guy, right? He just seems, you know, and they've shown a bit of attitude on stage. Like they're still quite fresh to that environment for a lot of those names. Mattis as well. I think that once he's left-handed, there's something that we can do with that, right? Like we don't have many left-handed pros. It's him and Woxic. There's something there, right? Like I know that seems silly, but there is. And Sampaius is the only one who's had some time in the spotlight and being considered a really good AWPer before. Like Hunter's obviously considered a very good player too, but Sampaius is the one who's not living up to what his legacy is, right? He's not playing as the same impactful sniper ever since CS2's been out, the one that we remember from ENTS, right? And if he can get back to close to that form, then I feel like this team saying they don't have any superstars, like this is, don't players have to do things to become superstars? And a lot of these guys are at the starts of their careers.
We also had the same conversation about Navi a year and a half ago, you know.
And nothing happened. Yeah, okay. Well, shit, it might be this again.
No, but they ended up, the point was more that they ended up putting 4 tournaments or 5 tournaments or whatever it was in 2024, you know. So it's not like you need to have superstars. Like, and this team is actually built in kind of the same fashion, right? Because again, we kind of thought that MOUZ maybe would enter that conversation, maybe not like as a superstar, like an eco superstar, but as I said, at least, especially, you know, with what he was able to do with CT roles that didn't fit him, what he would have been able to do with them.
Sure.
That didn't happen. So it kind of has to come from other points, but they just have so much balance that maybe they just don't need a superstar. You know, that's just how some teams can win. And now we have one like that for a pretty long time.
I think what I should do when you say that is when you say no need for a superstar, what I should in my head filter is no need for a hard 30 bomb carry.
Right. Yes.
Right. Yeah. That's how I should use that. I guess when I think superstar, I think more than just the stats, right?
Well, you're
like
looking at
more
the aura of it all, or whatever you want to call it.
It's a bit more to it, you know, like But that's fine. What I'll do is when I hear people say like superstars, I'll just translate it to 30 bombs, right? I'll just like carry performance.
It's like generational player, right? That's kind of the idea of what people are saying that, you know, MOUZ don't have and G2 don't have and stuff like that. They even, you know, in Vitality, someone like Rob's, even this year, even in the past, like being a top 3-4 player in the world, I don't think he is a superstar. I think he's like, you know, he's just one below, you know, the simples, the donks, the Zywus and stuff like that. He's like the A+ tier player. And I think G2 can have like all 5 of these can be A+, but none of them will be that S tier ever. We know we saw all of them enough. Even Matusz, who's been on the scene for like a year or whatever, we've already seen enough to know that he's not donk and he'll never be, and that's fine. That's like fair. He doesn't have to be that, but at the same time,
who will, you know?
At the same time, like not having a donk and not having a Zywoo or a simple actually allows you to play different. Like you can't have those players and play how G2 is playing right now. I don't think that works because ultimately you're putting this guy.
Wait, what about Vitality with Zywoo?
No, do you think Vitality sets up Zywoo to the same degree as Spirit set up Donk, for example?
Do you think? I don't think.
That's my point.
I don't think more similar to G2 than they do to Spirit.
Right.
But I also don't think they would like put him in a super shit position just to die for like Apex to go and trade. Like it sometimes happens, but they would try to avoid that because it effectively harms their chances of winning. So that you'll always have that calculation in your mind. How do we not throw this guy's life in vain?
I think it's also different with uppers, right? Like if your upper is the superstar, is not a simple or Monasi who just goes for like crazy plays all the time, right? Then, I mean, there's only so much that you can do to, I don't know how to explain this best, but you know, he's obviously never going to be in positions where you're going to send him first all the time, you know, and things like that. So I think it's just different in terms of how much you can even set up an upper, you know, in terms of if anything, he's the one setting up
other players,
the other way, right?
Yeah, unless he's going for like an opening peak or some crazy move or some shit. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird because I think that G2 are probably closer to Vitality than they are to like a spirit complexion. And it's not that I don't think they do things to set Zyro up. Like obviously Apex, we've heard it in these voice comms, demands a lot of Zyro. When we've heard like when Zyro's had an off map or whatever, he said like, listen, Matthew, we're not going to do this without you. Like we know that dialogue and that discourse is there, but I think that's for any team that wants to win, right? You can't have a Sanji complexion. That's worked.
I think ultimately, I know Vitality is kind of next in line to talk about, but what you're talking about is G2 versus MOUZ is a great example where I feel like MOUZ play like they have 5 superstars, but they don't. And ultimately their biggest pivot star player exertion is not even that good. So they need to play a bit more wild and try to like loosen up their script, because what they're doing is fairly predictable. Individuals are not as good as they think they are to actually make the difference. And this is what, like, watching this G2 and then like looking back at MOUZ made me so tired. It just made me tired of watching MOUZ. It was so uninspired.
Now I feel the same. I'm out on MOUZ. So it's weird because I don't like the people. The people are fine. I think that they're a bit of a nothing burger when they play, even though they were in a bunch of grand finals and stuff. I don't know. There was the whole narrative that people tried to push for a couple of years. They're like, look at these MOUZ NXT guys. They're so sick. That also put me off. Like, I love that those narrative pushes really, really kind of upset me a bit. Striker, how do you feel about MOUZ? We may as well talk about them now. We can get back to Vitality. Like this is another loss to Vitality. Like, that's the way it goes.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised by how quickly people have turned around on MOUZ, being from like this lovable group of friends to nobody gives a fuck about them, basically, and everybody wants to tell everybody that nobody gives a fuck about this team. And it feels like it's happened like in the last 2 months to me, everybody's like, oh wow, they've done this without Chewy, and they've done so well. They've done so well without like a quote unquote proper in-game leader. If there was anything bad that people said about MOUZ, it was that Brolin was just not that important, apparently, and things like that. And then suddenly it's just turned into this, why doesn't anybody even give a fuck about the MOUZ? I'm like, okay, I get it in the sense of there's just no personality on that team, right? Like there's nothing to latch onto that you would like other than that, the air of lovability or like the friendliness within the team or whatever it is, that they will never say anything negative about the other people, and things like this, that like to me are just fine. Like I don't really care either way. It's just not something that will make you excited, right? As a fan. And you will just not, it's not a team that a lot of fans will flock to. But I still think it's way too negative for that, like the general perception of MOUZ at the moment.
There was a discussion about this on the forums, right? And we have some of the wisest people who use the HLTV.org forums. So I read them all the time. I love to digest their opinions. And there was this opinion that I saw because the discussion was around MOUZ and why they don't have any fans. The thread could have even been like, why hate MOUZ? That could have been the name of it. But this comment, and I don't remember the user who made it, he said, people cheer for legends, stars, or underdogs, and MOUZ are none of them.
Oh, that's a fucking banger.
Yeah,
that is.
Whoever made that I've quoted that twice now. And it's true. They're not underdogs, right? Because they've been in a bunch of finals. You expect them to make it to playoffs.
Yeah.
None of their players give star energy besides Torji. And I send Torji to Na'Vi or FaZe. Like, get him out.
Unfortunately, Torji doesn't have the star, superstar, A+ even. He doesn't have the game. He doesn't have the game to back that, to like go together with that. Not that he shouldn't be doing that. Obviously, he's the most likable guy there. He's bringing something to the table. But when you look at the big games, he can also go as missing as the next guy, right?
Yeah. I think that like someone in Kick Chat is bang on, right? They said there's no reason to hate, but there's even less reason to like them. No one should hate them. They don't lean into the villain side of things. They're just very bland. And if they were able to break through and give us some more exciting games, then maybe. But I think most people's opinion of MOUZ, but memory of MOUZ is just losing to Vitality. And that's just, it's got like some real cuck energy, and it's like, that's not getting the people going unless you're into that thing. And again, I can send you to a website for that. But, they're not giving. And this is what I think they should do. Like when Heroic were like second fiddle or third fiddle or fourth, like when Heroic were like a top 5 team, they were demonized. They were the villains, right? Like there was a lot of drama around their camp. So MOUZ, this is what you need to do. I mean, this is directly to Sabrina, the manager of the team. What I need you to do, Sabrina, is I need you to Google biker mice from Mars. Now, it's a television show back from when I was a kid. Now, essentially, it's these mice who probably around the same time as the Ninja Turtles may have had something with ooze and then became like man-type mice, right? They were big, like men with big arms, and they ride motorbikes. Now, what I want you to do is start dressing your boys up like the biker mice from Mars, get them a couple of Harley Davidson. When they come into events, they're all smoking cigarettes, they're spitting on their fans because they don't have any, they're pushing other players. We need some attitude. The people need something. You need a gimmick going over there at MOUZ, because right now, just being pretty good, it's not doing it. It's not moving tickets. People aren't buying jerseys. Like, you got to get some attitude about it, right? Let's get some fucking attitude going. Let's actually get Jimmy retweeting porn every day. Like, let's fucking get something going, guys. Because right now, your PR department needs to rework. It's in the bin over there. They really need to think about how they can get some fresh flavor out of the MOUZ camp, because it's not given. I'm kind of done. Kind of done with MOUZ.
So
we done
need
with
the
MOUZ?
right type of media training. It's just like the anti-media training, basically. That's what we need.
They need to just watch some like WWF, right? The Hulk Hogan's and the really just, it's okay to be the heel. It's fine to be the heel. That's fine. All right. Let's be the heel. All right. Let's jump into Vitality. Obviously, we're talking about discourse shifting quickly around MOUZ. Well, the same things kind of happen with Vitality. It's like, oh, they're not good anymore. It's like, well, I don't know if I agree with that.
That's just such a ridiculous thing to say, man.
Yeah, well, it happens quick around here, Striker.
I know, but like, that's just people just like change opinions like this on 2 results or whatever.
So what's their record, right? It was semifinal, fourth place, final.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Teams would be begging for a result page to look like that at the moment. And they've still, the thing is, Vitality don't look at 100%.
Yeah.
And that could be for a few factors. That could be that it's their fault. That could be that the teams that they're playing against have gotten better or have cottoned on to how they like to play. So what do you put this down to, Striker? What's going on with Vitality?
I would just say this, like, even if a team wins the entire rest of the season, they will still probably not match Vitality's resume of the year. Like, even at this point, even if Vitality just end up being quarterfinal exits for the rest of the year, whatever another team does will still not match what they've done this year, you know? So just because they haven't won a trophy yet doesn't really mean they're bad, right? I mean, I think Apex put it well in that tweet. He's doing these like reflective tweets after every event, especially the ones that go badly. Or something just doesn't go the right way and all these things. He said, what was the quote, Prof? He said, we should never have won Melbourne, but we should have won this tournament, you know? And I think that says a lot. And it's just about the way that they lost Inferno, right? And especially that match point moment that they just kind of gave away against the bad weapons and all these things. You know, I'm sure with that missed molly against mobs and the behind triple and all these things, like obviously they were in the position to win that Inferno. They should have won that Inferno, really, I think. And then, you know, this conversation wouldn't be happening. Obviously, it still happened. They ended up losing, especially in overtime, where you could tell the frustration probably got to Apex because of the way that he was calling. You know, suddenly, like, 3 fast plays in a row, you know, that just didn't work. And it was in a way where they're just trying to push through a smoke on Banana, where they know that Mobs is fighting all the time, you know, and they know that he's going to be there somewhere. They want to catch him out, but it just happens the opposite way because they're too erratic about the way they approach it, you know. So I think that was more concerning to me than anything else about Vitality, that they just like let these moments get to them a little bit too much when they feel like they've given away an opportunity to win the tournament, you know, and that's effectively what lost them the event in the end, right? Because on Train, I think that was pretty obvious from the start, you know, how it was going to go. Overall, though, Vitality, I've said it before, like, I don't think we need to be worried because they're still up there. They're missing these little things that would make them champions again, you know. And so
it's just the 5%,
yeah, exactly. Like, if you're just missing the last couple of percent in these moments, it's going to tank your confidence, and you can see that happens in certain moments where, you know, where before, I said it before, you know, where before they would have the second guy would just like complement a play that he sees from another guy, right? And just and that makes it work, right? But that doesn't happen just as quickly. Some of these moments, you know, where they are just a little bit too disjointed, that would never happen. And like in that point where they won all these tournaments, right? So it's just those little moments that a couple of them go the wrong way, where before they would have gone right, and they would have won the tournament, right? And before, it's not like they were destroying everybody winning tournaments. They won a lot of close tournaments, very close series that ended up winning. You know, Melbourne's obviously the biggest example.
Lisbon's the other one,
Falcons, the 3 Falcons series that they played, that was like about 2 rounds. Another, you know, comeback in one of them and all these things. They won plenty of series just getting those couple of plays right instead of wrong, which is what's happening now. And that's the difference. That's it in my eyes.
But I guess the next thing is how many of these hits do you think they take, Prof, before the dialogue starts to shift, right? Like, is there an expectation that they need to win a certain amount? Like they said they wanted to, Apex is something about, you know, beating Astralis or as many as Astralis, right, in terms of trophies within 1 year. Well, do we think that there's a point where this dialogue shifts from, oh, okay, like, yeah, they're just lacking those last few little details to get across the line to, okay, well, now they're just always going to be like, they're always a puncher's chance. It's kind of where we found ourselves with Spirit, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? You know,
feels kind of similar. I mean, ultimately it's a long season, I want to say, but what can they do now except like refocus for like Chengdu in the major? That's kind of what.
They've got EPL, which is studio. They've got Chengdu, which is arena, which will have group stage fans as well, which is pretty sick.
Yeah, that's great.
And then other than that, they probably will do. I imagine they'll do Hong Kong
rivals.
Yeah,
and into the major. So they have what, 4 tournaments left in the year, right?
Yeah,
they could still do it. They would have to win at least 3 of them, but they could still do it.
Yeah, and you want to peak. You want to peak for the major, right? So the last spree, Chengdu, Hong Kong major is kind of where you want to be delivering your best CS.
I think for them, like this is still pretty fine, realistically. Like it really depends on how you interpret it and how the team is functioning. Because like realistically, you can understand that it's not the end of the world while also letting it affect you under the surface, right? Someone like Robs at this event was definitely a missing factor.
Which was funny because earlier he was the only guy really putting up big numbers, especially back at Cologne, for example, right? Like he got that ace on Mirage when everyone else was kind of still really flat.
Yeah.
Flamesy and Apex, I think, looked better, right? That was another big concern point. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you think it's I don't know.
I mean, is it worrisome? Well, it depends on what you want to say. I think if you want them to win every tournament, obviously not ideal. But why are you so red? What's going on over there?
I'm just trying to load the demo to look at that Inferno stuff that Striker was talking about, and I was just opening Counter-Strike, and that's why it was the Counter-Strike main menu. I use a lot of Vibrance. So.
Bro,
I mean, remember the overtime, right? I mean, what they were calling for those 3, basically the 3 T rounds that they lost in a row.
I just wanted to show the viewers that round that you were talking about, the 12-11 rounds.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think like they definitely on 12-12, so the first overtime round, they definitely missed the triple molly. I think there's some conversation about them missing it in the last round of regulation as well. But I've already watched it once. I wanted to get your guys' opinion on it. So hold up, let me see if I can pull this off right now.
I think Apex also mentioned that in his tweets. He made some like comment about taking 45 seconds to arrange B execute.
They did
because
they did
during that they wanted to execute, and then it was taking so long that MOUZ managed to re-smoke again, and then they're kind of stuck behind the smoke, and they're like, should we not? Whole thing going on, and then they ended up going through anyway. And ultimately, MOUZ stayed alive for like 40 seconds on that bomb site with CTs running in and then the Hunter flame coming in perfectly. So it's one of those where knowing and being able to just line up a smoke or a flash or whatever in 2 seconds, as you should as a pro player. Sometimes maybe it's 11-12, maybe you're fucking up, maybe the pressure's there or whatever, and things just don't go as they should. Okay. Here we go.
I got it. Lucas, can you share my screen for the viewers at home right now?
I want to see this again because I rewatched it like in the moment, but I never actually went back.
It looks so laggy. Anyway, fuck it. Okay, so right now, 12-11, you can see the buy at the top of the screen. Hunter with an MP9, Famous for Sampire, Deagle for MOUZ, Mattis with a 5-7 and a MP9 for Heavy God. And you can see that they started MOUZ Banana solo. This is the started round. They started Heavy towards A, right? I think Index, I think his name is, he broke this round down. But we can play the round.
Jesus, this is hard to watch.
So
okay.
So we can play the round just from here, right? Because it's the B execute where they finish. So we're 20 seconds into the round now. Rops hasn't taken any boiler and halls control, which makes sense because you know that their money's fucked late in the game, and that's a spot where you give away free kills. They're going to slowly take this banana control. They're just going to be diligent with the YouTube. I can't believe how fucking laggy it is, boys. This is crazy. Net jitter 194 or some shit. I guess that's because I'm uploading. So then they're going to get a bit of a harass utility there from MOUZ. Now, the utility, when you see it above their heads, guys, it doesn't show true utility. So it looks like MOUZ has full kit. He doesn't have full kit and nades. This was one of the things that...
Or like what they had at the beginning of the round, or what's the...
That's just every round, everyone above their heads looks like they have full util. It's just it's a bug in refrag with the demo.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so they've been blocked. MOUZ is still the only one here. It's 4 top mid. The thing, right? So like they don't want to just go in for the execute because they don't want to run through against pistols and stuff, which makes sense. But they're organizing this right now. This is what Apex would have been talking about, right? Organizing this in banana. Nades are still being juggled. Shit's still being worked out. Now they're all in banana for the execute. They've gotten top mid control. They know nobody was here. Now Hunter searches window. Nobody here, which means it's not going to be apps pop. 2 rotating over. Now this is where it's crazy, right? So if we go play pause. Okay. So look, you can see this molly here. Now, I know that Hugo definitely goes bananas about this molly, right? Because it doesn't actually spread to push the guy all the way out. Like, you're slightly exposed, but you're not fully exposed. So I'm not sure if this is the one that Hugo's been getting apeshit about in the casts. But this here does allow MOUZ, because they've done a full execute, right? They've first and second are mollied. Most of triples mollied. All of emo's mollied. Ruins is smoked. CT's smoked. And they're coming through a smoke, right? And this is where the kind of chaos kicks off. This is where all just goes fucking haywire. So if we go... play pause. This is where they could have won the game right here. Is it playing? Sorry, guys. New at this. Here it is. Okay, so here they come in. Pathing in. Mattis is on the cusp of the smoke. Here's the steps. Contact taken. Comes through. Gets one. Traded. Sampai's comes through. Gets one. Traded. MOUZ still back at the side. They still have to worry about him. They know he's there. Another smoke towards CT comes in. Flank's already here. Look at this. Hunter's already behind them.
Hunter's already. Like, it's crazy how quickly he went down mid.
And now it's like they have to plant. The time's against them. Go to get the bomb down. Heavy God stops the plant. They win the round. They go overtime. And then from there, it kind of spirals. All right, Lucas, stop sharing my screen. I need to turn this off. Thank you, sir. But yeah,
I have to look at it like how... Oh, okay, whatever. That doesn't matter. Like, now that you closed it, it's
how fast he came?
I wanted to look at how, like, when Hunter reacted, you know, like when was the point where he started
searched
pushing?
window after they cleared top mid.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then ran down just straight mid, not alt mid. He just went mid to banana.
I guess saw the execute and just like whatever was like, I want to risk it because MOUZ is there alone and blah, blah, blah.
But yeah, anyway, I just want to show that. It's cool. That I wish I didn't lag so much there. What we could do in the future, because Refrag actually has a thing where once you upload the demo to the site, like everybody could be in, like Lucas could literally be in the demo and I could lock him to a POV, like my POV, and he could show exactly what I'm showing. So
cool.
Yeah, again, it's like just Vitality, you're just monitoring from event to event. If it looks like drastically worse, you go, oh shit, there's a problem, right? But until then, you just keep marching on and see what happens. They're not going to play for another 3 to 4 weeks, right? So we got quite a long time until we see them again. Okay, keep moving.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, we can just quickly touch on FaZe, FURIA, and M80. Not too much to say here. Problem is, the way this is aged for M80, if we were doing this on the Monday after the event, probably would be some nice things to say. Unfortunately, they've lost some like online games. I think they lost to OG or something, which doesn't look great for them. But the fact that they took a map off of MOUZ, I didn't like the way they approached Inferno. It was all gimmick. It was all exploiting util timings, and I hated it. It's like, I don't even think you're giving yourself the best chance to win the game. You're just trying to gimmick the victory. But they were close to doing it, so fair. But yeah, I need to say positive things about Hexed, because it's not that I've been a Hexed detractor. I've just been like, Hexed is whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And he actually fits into this team and finds some contributions. So shout out to Hexed for being able to be better than in an EG team, I guess.
Yeah.
EG was dirt.
I was actually watching this on Darth Mike's stream. Okay. He was getting very excited about the whole thing. And it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable to watch, especially the first 2 maps, because M80 was doing stuff, I would say. They do stuff, but I also feel like, kind of like you, they're trying to do too much. Like, they're not even holding a sight on. It's like a 3v3. They're just like every round they're grouping up somewhere. There's no like, okay, I'll just hold this angle and try to kill 2 people coming in. This is like almost not a concept in this team, which is like I'm trying a bit too hard to be unpredictable and like not actually believing that you can do the basic stuff good, you know? So just finding a balance between these, but overall kind of a nice team. Nice to see them do well because they are kind of in the dumps for the whole first season pretty much.
And NA needs a new team to get behind now that Complexity are Passion UA, but they're still considered North American as far as the VRS is concerned. So I guess maybe they don't need a new team at all. So maybe I'm wrong. FURIA, it's a little bit disappointing to see the flop in the playoffs. Definitely saw in between maps where they were walking down the hallway. I think Fallen had his arm around Molodoy trying to give him a talk, trying to G him up a bit. A bit of a shame that they just got blown out of the water that badly, did G2, because back in Cologne they had back and forth series, back and forth, where they won one, lost one, lost one, won one, whichever the order was. So it's a little bit of a shame to see that. I hope it's not a sign of like, oh shit, their honeymoon is over now. I don't think it would be. It's just G2 were on a heat of that event. So this is why I think FISSURE is good. We get to see them in action again.
They also still beat Spirit and MOUZ in the online phase. I know online CS and blah blah blah. Like we were not going to always give that the same amount of credit.
Get full points.
But yeah, I mean that's a big part of it. But them making the finals and having another deep run, I think, is still really good results. So I don't think that's too much to worry about.
Yeah, it's more stage experience and hopefully just a one-off in terms of the blowout, and they can get back to where they were. I think Yakinda made a tweet saying he wasn't playing up to his standard either. So yeah, we'll see how that one unfolds. Not too much to say about them. And again, we can talk about them more in the FISSURE segment. The FaZe one. How do you guys feel holistically about FaZe? Because I have a strong thought. Do you guys have any strong thoughts?
I don't have many strong thoughts, except I saw Jacob with smokes on Inferno.
Who did point that out? It's important.
I was watching this as well with Darth Mike, and I was like, why is Frozen swinging banana on like 4 people with nothing? There must have been on the minimap. I couldn't see a smoke anywhere, but yeah, it was on a building somewhere, not at bottom banana, and then he just died, and that's one of the most frustrating ways to die. Like start of the round, Inferno CT side, swinging banana, and then there's just not being the util that you need is just not there, and you die like an idiot. And now you're like 2 minutes of looking into a screen. That sucks quite a lot. But no, you can take it away after that.
Yeah, I've voiced this a couple of times now. I think that FaZe will be a team that on any given Sunday, right, could play their best chaotic Counter-Strike and they could take down anybody in the world. But I do not believe that they have the consistency to do that and to be a regular expectation for people. I think people's expectations of this team and the way that they approach the game should be flip a coin if they'll be good or bad. That's what you should do. You have no metric to be able to measure. I think their overall approach to the game, it needs to be this style because that's the way that these players thrive the best. And I also hope that we're in a period of time right now where this team starts to try and bring in more fresh blood over the next 12 to 18 months into... I'm manifesting my thoughts right here, so whether these come true or not. But if I was FaZe management, my plan is to make sure I hold on to Carrigan to when he retires, to transition him into a coach. Over the next couple of years, start getting into more younger talents and take some prospects and try and indoctrinate them into the Carrigan way of thought. And then eventually, once you have a couple of pieces that you're really happy with and Carrigan's happy to move away, then he can move in a coach role and they can try and... Because that would have to be the future for FaZe in my mind. And I understand how you don't want to get rid of legacy players like Rain and stuff. And I'm a big Rain supporter. So I think ride this out until they feel that these changes need to happen. But I think it would be unrealistic of people to think that this FaZe roster will be like a mainstay in the top 5. I don't think that's a fair consideration of what they have going. So yeah, we'll see. I'm not a FaZe hater or anything. If anything, I'm more a FaZe realist. I was very vocal about this change with the elec stuff, and the elec definitely didn't fit the way that they want to approach the game. That doesn't mean that I look at the elec change, as elec being the problem. What I look at it as is that FaZe complexion of the other 4 would not work with elec in the mix. So you have 2 choices, don't you? You could have either stuck with Liege, you could build around him in the future, or you can do what I hope they're doing, which is wanting to hold on to Carrigan as a legacy peach, turn him into a coach, and then make other changes along the way and see what you can get out. But this team right now, at least in the foreseeable, the short term, will not be like a top 5 consistent team. IMHO, TBH, LOL, Rafflecopter.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the firepower isn't really there. And obviously, that wasn't necessarily the problem when Elige was there, and that was more of a cultural problem or whatever it was exactly. But now, obviously, Jacob doesn't have that same output, doesn't have the experience, struggles quite a bit, on making those plays work, because he will be aggressive in ways that just is a coin flip, right? Like you can't really make that consistent. But the bigger problem especially for their G2 match was just compared to the online one was Brokey just wasn't doing what he was doing online, right? Like finally we saw the Brokey that we knew from the past, and I was like, okay, is like the kick of Elige somehow enabled Brokey to be back to himself or whatever happened. But then he just fizzled out in that game against G2, just didn't like completely invisible in that Inferno game. A lot of it was because just a lot of the action happened outside of him, so he couldn't really do that much more, But even on that Dust 2 game later, that's the game that you want him to take over, and that didn't happen either. So that's like it does just underline the problem of firepower in that team, and like Frozen being the only one that they can realistically rely on to actually have outputs from game to game, because the other ones are still very up and down.
Yeah, I think it's just hard when you think about the way that Brokey finds his impact to think it's easy to replicate that. Like when people watch it, it's in like a chaotic scenario, right? It's not like he's going and getting an opening pick and then rotating and then going. It's like, oh shit, the AWP's in the middle of a molly, 2 smokes, 3 guys are coming his way. There's a flash, there's a rifle baiting for him, and he gets 2 nose. It's like it's always something fucking crazy, right? Like it's things that are so hard to rinse and repeat. So yeah, again, not a FaZe hater, just trying to be a bit of a realist with what's on the server at the moment. Okay. Guys, I know that we're on Kick, but we are just going to run some internal ads. These aren't external ones, don't you worry about that. None of that. We left that on the old platform. So we'll be right back. Shouldn't be too long. And we'll continue on with the show. BRB.
Stake is now sponsoring HLTV Confirmed, the longest running Counter-Strike podcast. And thanks to them, you have the chance to win a prize every single episode. Just leave a comment on YouTube with your Stake username, and the highest voted comment will be awarded a $100 prize. Check out the link for more details.
See how quick that was? And you guys can also win something. So it's to do with YouTube comments. You get your Stake name in there, make a comment, top comment. You can win something. We all love prizes. Free things are great. Everyone loves free shit. All right. Let's get into it, because Striker's going to have some free advice for everybody playing at home in this next segment. He's probably even writing an article about it. I can guarantee you that much. Maybe not. Maybe he changed his mind.
Very well, yeah, we'll see.
But for those who missed it, in the recent news segment, we're going to be talking about some of the happenings that have been going on across. Now, these are going to be some dramas or some roster changes. And to kick one off, there was a big one that happened to do with Chengdu and Bucharest. Now, PGL Bucharest is going to be going down in November, I think it is, late October, early November. Yeah. And then you've got Chengdu, which is the event directly after that, which will be taking place towards the middle to tail end of November. Now, there was a bit of a scheduling snafu to get everybody up to date. There was, well, I don't know. How many of the details do we really want to get into here? There's a lot to get into, Striker.
Yeah, I mean, to outline the basics of it for people who haven't followed this situation. Obviously, these events have been scheduled since, I don't know, early 2024 or something like that. Like for a very long time, we've known about these tournaments falling on these dates, and that it would likely be very difficult for those two for one team to attend both events effectively. Unfortunately, nobody really foresaw this, and has only started to deal with it in the last month or so, since the invites have started to come out and all that. Eventually, after an opinion and slight warning from ESL that it wouldn't really be possible to attend both tournaments, and that they would punish anybody who would withdraw from Chengdu at the last minute with a ban from Krakow, which is the next ESL tournament after that. Then PGL decided to move the event to end it a day earlier, so on the Saturday, so that teams who potentially would attend both could travel on the Sunday to Chengdu to make it for the matches on Monday, right? So to effectively allow that travel, because it was physically impossible for a team to play on the last day on Sunday, because like you end Sunday nights, which is like morning in China, on the day of the tournament, you know, and that's like a 12-hour flight, and that's if it's direct, you know, it is physically impossible to make it if you play effectively the top four, right? The third place decider or the grand final of the tournament. So we'll see if this works. We still don't know what the invites would be for Bucharest. I know some teams, at least a few teams, considered playing at both, then probably were very quickly about to change their mind once they realized that it wouldn't be possible. And then, you know, now it seems like some of them are back in the fold and considering attending both, but we still haven't heard anything officially. Let's
dig into a couple of different things that have been brought up there just in this string, right? So these events, right? There's a few. Okay, we're gonna have to go really big picture here to be able to go through all of it, aren't we? So if we go really big picture, guys, we, in my opinion, shouldn't live in a world where every team can physically attend every event. Teams are meant to be put in a position where they make choice of what tournament they want to attend for a slew of different reasons. Whether that be because they like the way a TO treats them, they like the computers that a TO has, they like the location that the event is, they like the fact that the event has an arena or not. Maybe they want to play an online portion, maybe they want to play a studio portion. All these things, or the prize money of an event, right? Or the other incentives. Exactly, like viewership stuff, or the frequent flyers that Blast have, or does it have club share? Does it not have club share? All of these factors need to be computed by the teams to decide if they want to go to an event or if they don't want to go to an event. Now, something that I praised Vitality a lot for throughout that first season was their selective nature. Now, part of that could definitely be contributed to the cabal of the top teams wanting to strong-arm PGL into offering club share, which eventually they did. The other part could be that Vitality wanted to go to ESL and PGL ESL and Blast events because they know them better over the last couple of years. Maybe they like the incentive structures. There's a lot of things, right? Either way, my point is more holistic. All of these teams, every single one of them, especially ones in the bubble who are going to get these invites on a regular basis, in my opinion, should be more selective. I don't believe you should have your cake and eat it. Now, with the way that this situation has unfolded now, these teams are getting to have their cake and eat it. Something that Graham pointed out in a tweet was like, it sucks for the teams who did the right thing, GamerLegion and Aurora, who said that they were going to go to Bucharest but not go to the Chengdu event.
We don't know that for sure yet, but we can assume. Well, we don't know that they will accept the Bucharest invite, but yeah, again, we can assume as much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's right. But okay? I'm going to get waylaid here for a second. Isn't PGL at the moment? Aren't they doing the wrong thing by not announcing their invites? Shouldn't they have announced them already?
There's no rule about when you're supposed to announce the invites, or how long do you have to decide them, even in the first place. You know, I feel like it is entirely up to them at the moment. That's definitely something that I think.
But how long could they wait?
I mean, well, in their eyes, however long it takes to finalize and to make sure that everybody actually has it figured out, right? So
I mean the important part is that the invite date is September 1st, right? So that's the ranking that they'll be using, and then they just need to go down that ranking until they find all the teams. Ultimately, the more they wait, they are the entity that suffers the most, having to like book things last minute. So yeah, I guess there's no really need generally to incentivize the TO to do it faster. Like, they want to do it as fast as possible. Ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, as fast as possible, you know, with the caveat in mind that with the best teams possible, you know, as well. So that obviously included all this, you know, shifting around the schedule, and now I guess they're figuring out how exactly they'll make up for that day that they removed right at the end, which I assume is just going to end up with some double matches for one team, or double or more extra streams, whatever it's gonna happen to allow for that, right? But yeah, I mean, technically they can wait for however long they want to decide these invites.
Okay, that's interesting. I thought there had to be a deadline. So this is interesting. The fact you can hold off for as long as you want. Okay, that's curious. That's interesting because it means that like some teams will find themselves in certain situations of, yeah, okay, curious. So yeah, this whole drama was, you know, there's a part of this rule that Valve actually made ESL make it more specific, right? Yeah. Is that the correct interpretation? So this. Yeah. We had it earlier in the year where, was it FURIA who pulled out of a PGL event or something along those lines? And then I think PGL put a rule in their rule book to say like, hey, if you do this, then you could be banned from our next event,
right?
Which is fine. I think I saw a lot of people going, but this isn't fair. How can they not use the VRS? This is allowed within the sphere. But Valve decided off the back of this most recent stuff with ESL and PGL for Chengdu and Bucharest to make it more defined, the rule. So what had to change within the rule exactly, Striker?
I mean, effectively, what Valve didn't want is for there to be any discretion on the side of the TO to decide when something gets triggered and whether they ban for it or not. Effectively, what Valve wants is if you have a rule about we will ban a team for withdrawing from the event at the last minute, whatever that time might be, they have to ban consistently. So if whatever team breaks the rule will get banned. Effectively, that's what Valve want. They don't want there to be any potential for TOs to decide, okay, we would ban GamerLegion but not Vitality. Like,
okay.
let's say that, right?
So the change that ESL made was they set a hard deadline, and then any team who pulled out after that hard deadline would be banned. Is that
as long as they don't have like a visa or health
medical
reason
issue
effectively for it, and then they would have to prove that they have those problems, But it is effectively Valve needed a more specific language so that there is no discretion on the side of the TO about these bans, right? It's like that you have to be consistent about them.
I tried. It just made me yellow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. What do you take away from this whole drama here, Prof? Like when you see this unfolding and whatnot, obviously the TOs want to have the best teams at their events, and both TOs, are vying for space in the calendar right here. What do you take away when you see this all unfolding? What is your thoughts?
I mean, I blame the teams 100%.
Okay, I like it.
In my opinion, it's like two TOs, obviously they want to have the best teams possible. The calendar has been put out. At some point, it was also announced where these places are happening. It's been a long time since we knew, this is going to be China, it's going to be Romania, very far away from each other.
But that one got updated a little bit earlier, though, right? Because it was meant to be Serbia.
Yeah. I mean, either way, or Europe.
But yes, we knew the region.
Thing, right?
Yep.
Plus, minus, same thing, right? In terms of travel. So, what's happening, and you as a team want to play both. You can't play both. So you have a lot of options, but one option that, in my opinion, if you try to play both, that is the only option that is completely like in bad faith. It's done in bad faith. You're fucking over either one or both of these tournaments by saying yes to both.
Yep.
There are things you can do. You can be like, hey, we'd like to play both. This is kind of bullshit. They're both very important events. We need to work on something for this to be possible, because right now it's not possible. Let's get ahead of this and not accept both the invites and then, hello guys, you fear the shit. No, this doesn't make sense. You signed up to being in two places at the same time until you figure out the fucking teleporter or cloning your team. This doesn't make any fucking sense. It just doesn't make sense.
What's the worst part about that is the integrity issue. It's like what is implied by accepting both, right? Like, let's say you have in good faith accepted both with the idea that you will play both. That means if you make it to the quarterfinal of the Bucharest event, you effectively are in a position where you have to throw the match
to make
it to Chengdu or forfeit it, whatever it is,
Yeah.
Like, how did teams think? Like, did they not think, like, what would happen if we made it to the quarterfinal here?
Well, they definitely didn't think. Like,
They did not think.
This is why the blame I see, all the rhetoric is fuck ESL or fuck PGL. That's what it was. And there was a whole argument about, well, no, but they did say that the dates were here, or, well, no, but they have this really bad rule, or, no, they're trying to monopolize the calendar, right? You've got all these people shouting from the rooftops. Nobody's shouting, these dumb fucking teams are taking both the TOs for a ride. Like, it's actually bullshit what they're trying to do. Could you imagine this, right? Let's say that you're the Chengdu event, and the best teams all make it to the finals of the PGL event. So all those best teams to your Chengdu event, which is an arena event, people are literally paying tickets to go to, just don't turn up. They're like, oh, sorry, we can't come. We're playing the final. And then there's no repercussion. Because I've seen people as well go, oh, yeah, no, this rule is stupid. They shouldn't be able to punish this. Are you fucking joking? Like, these teams want everything. Let me tell you, they want everything. These are the ones who are putting the leverage. And Valve, Graham put this in his tweet, have said that Valve said they want the teams to vote with their feet, right? Which means if they attend something or don't attend it, I'm just explaining this for
no, I'm just for me.
Like
it's so stupid. I'm just laughing at the whole situation. But please continue. Yeah.
So they want people to vote with their feet, right? So they want people to go, okay, yeah, this event makes sense because we want to go to crowd, or this event, like all those criteria listed before. Well, right now, the fact that they get to leverage the TOs and force them to change their formats and everything along those lines, and force them to be pitted against one another because they don't want to make the hard choice, right? Like the choice should be based on all those factors I said before.
Yeah.
Right? Base your event choice off of that.
I will say one thing, though. I would also put some of that responsibility on PGL for sure, because they knew about this clash for a very long time, and they knew that, like, anybody could look at the travel schedule and know it is impossible to play in both unless you don't make it to the top 4. So this should have been resolved already, months ago, before these invites even came out, because they, like, it just takes a look at this event ends the day before that event ends, and there's like a 20-hour window, not actual 20-hour window, but including the time zone that you need to even make it over, and probably more, by the way. I think there's probably no direct flight.
I can't get a direct. I gotta fucking get on 3 flights, mate.
There you go.
Wait.
So it's effectively impossible to make it from one to the other, and that should have just been handled a long time ago. If like, maybe not right at the beginning when these two events were announced, because sometimes maybe you don't know where that other one would be. But like, we knew the locations. I would have to check back, but like somewhere at the start of the year, somewhere close to the start of the year, we knew the locations of both of these events, or at least generally the locations, what they would be, right? So months and months that this could have been resolved ahead of time, and it wasn't, until now, So to deal with it at a time when you're realizing, so all these teams said yes to Chengdu, and now we can't actually invite them, or they can't say yes to us because effectively they would have to withdraw from Chengdu at the last minute, unless they don't make it to top 4.
What do you think is going to happen, Striker? So of the teams attending, I'll quickly read it out for people watching later. So the teams who have accepted Chengdu, these are the teams: Vitality, Mongolz, MOUZ, Spirit, G2, Furia, Falcons, Na'Vi, FaZe, 3D Max, Pain, Astralis, TYLOO, Heroic, Lin Vision, and Virtus.pro. Those are the teams who have accepted to go to Chengdu. Right, so outside of that, you can see that there's no Aurora there, there's no GamerLegion there. Those are the teams who would have been in invite potential, as far as I understand. What's going to happen with Bucharest? Do you think that there's any of these names here that are going to double dip?
I think so. I mean, there are definitely talks about from some of these teams and PGL about like what needs to happen for them to attend. There's definitely been talks that's like of some of these teams that were interested in attending both. Whether all of them stayed interested after that warning from ESL and all these things, I'm not 100% sure which teams that just decided not to go in the end. But there was definitely, I mean, PGL, if PGL didn't get some sort of a reassurance that these teams would have said yes if this was made possible, then I would imagine they would not make the change, right? They would just cop it and they would say, okay, we'll just take Aurora and GamerLegion, and whoever else will say yes to our tournament. So I would imagine the fact that they did move it means some teams told them that they would attend both in that eventuality, right? Now the only question remains is whether ESL will be okay with teams skipping the media day, right?
I think you get fined for skipping media days and stuff.
Yeah, there's something like that, but there's also in the rules there's some discretion at like in situations there are some discretion at like that some situations could lead to where it's in bad faith, and like some of these things that could lead to ban from the event or forfeiting the event and things like that. So it's not as easy as just copying a fine. ESL does need to some degree allow it the same way that they did for Dallas and with Astana happening right before that, because I think Aurora was one of the teams who traveled on the day of the actual competition. Even I think they came in to that tournament right this time. I think it's going to be the next.
Astana, but not Dallas.
Yeah, some of them did just make that decision. Yeah. Na'Vi was one of them. Spirit, I think, was the same, right?
I think so. Guys, just for everybody at home, this is not just for us here. This is how this has to go, everybody. Next year there'll be more overlaps. These TOs, there's only so many weeks within a year. There's only so many days you can put a tournament. There's only so many days that a venue is available. And again, the Valve wanting these teams to decide with their feet, right? That's what this is all about. If you see two TOs picking the exact same week in a calendar and then they're picking for reasons. And whether or not you think an incentive program, which is literally allowed by Valve in the VRS-TOR fucking acronym central, is good or bad, it's allowed. Right? Stop fucking acting like there's some crazy thing in the background with these puppet masters. There's influences being made, right? The influences are all public. They have to be. Because if you don't make them public, Valve will ban you. So all this information has to be out there. It's all out there for all of you to read. You can go and consume all of it. That's what we did at the start of the year, late last year. We're combing through all of it. We're doing episodes. We're putting you guys to sleep with VRS TOR talk. But don't sit there and act surprised when this stuff happens and go, these guys are bad guys or these guys are bad guys. This is a competitive business for everybody. The teams want to get as many VRS points as possible. The orgs want to put on the best event with the best teams as possible. Everybody's fighting for something. Okay, everyone is fighting for something. That's the way that it's business, guys. It's a fucking business. This isn't Prof. You're not going to Disneyland. This isn't the Small World ride. You're not going around and everyone's holding hands. And everyone's fucking friends. That's not this. This is not this. Stop thinking this is friendly. This is fucking business. For fuck's sake.
That's true. Disclaimer: business ties to ESL, but also PGL, also Blast sometimes.
I work for whoever hires me. If you want to hire me, send me an email.
Also HLTV. But no, I think that's the reality of it is, you know, it is a competition to there's a part where are people taking more of the calendar just to fill in the calendar so other people can do it. There's always an element of that happening. But ultimately, people are competing for teams to go there with the quality of the events and what the events have, like the stuff that you listed. And in this case, Chengdu is far away, which is a minus. But other than that, like it beats out Bucharest on most things. And especially since it's a crowd event, which Bucharest was supposed to be in Belgrade, but shit happened, right? Nothing to do with anyone except PGL and the situation in Belgrade, right? So you lose that, you lose the top competition almost by default. Then now Chengdu is also having group stage audience. It's an exciting tournament, right? Prize pool kind of similar, you know, it is a difference, but nothing too big. So ultimately, this is always going to be a thing for even more so next year, to see who is doing what. You could even say Blast. If someone is taking calendar for nothing, it is Blast this year. And I think obviously they're changing stuff for next year, but I do think next year will be, and we saw the year after also, the calendar is pitting PGL and Blast more against each other, and that's a fight that seems to be more reasonable for PGL to take on, in quotation marks. But you know, ESL is just significantly more established, and what they built just seems to suit the teams and the players and everything significantly more. We saw already Falcons pulling out of Blast this year. Their incentive program is questionable how much it is good for teams or not. Then they pulled a lot of things online, so they have a lot of time in the calendar that is not as valuable for the VR, just for the VRS.
All the viewer, bro.
Yeah. So then that is where more of the fight will probably happen, and maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. You know, some people win, some people lose. This kind of how the thing goes.
This is the thing, right? You just brought up the bit with the Blast events. I just want to point out how fucking egregious this is for everybody, guys. They run a group stage. The ESL runs in 3 days over the course of an entire fucking week. They run one stream, and then what they do is they have a 4-day break from the end of the group stage until the start of the playoffs. And that group stage is online. That's a 2-week event, everybody, where they use up a full 2 weeks.
Ultimately, Chengdu and Blast Open London are the same event. Yes. In terms of format, it's the same.
Exactly the same.
It's the same format. One is 2 weeks and half online, and one is 1 week on LAN with crowd fully through.
Bro, Chengdu has a 3rd place decider. It even has an extra game.
So this is stuff that hopefully Blast can like adjust some stuff for next year and make it better. I mean, some stuff is already there. There's no online part of the Open next year, and you know. But it seems they made some choices that are less than ideal, I think, overall. And that will probably, you know, teams have been noticing this. And this is a whole thing about like LAN, VRS and stuff.
So this takes into our
no one topic. Really listens to anything. No one knows anything. And
we talked about this like a year ago.
No one knows anything. We just saw this with Swisher and Sonic. It wasn't that big of a drama. It was just a few little comments. But Swisher is like,
you have to get up.
Why are you playing Blast of course, they played online, they got some wins, then they got to LAN and they lost. That ultimately did fuck all for their VRS. That's how VRS works. Not new at all. It's been the same this whole year. Slight tweaks. Yes, we know this. So, and now you're going to go and play. After that, they're going to play EPL, which is also it is on LAN, but it's not that great. It actually is EPL tweaked with the prize pool stuff that the value is higher of the games, or is that only an update that's coming later?
No, this is already in place for Blast.
Yeah, so it's not going to be
in place now.
So it's not going to be that bad. Actually, EPL will be, if they get some wins in EPL stage 1, it's going to have some worth.
Yeah, this is what they do, Prof. They're all fucking snorkeling. They've all got their fucking heads underwater, mate. They're not listening. There's fucking meteorites coming down, but they're all looking under the sea. They're all just fucking. Just guys, we've been talking about it all year. We've got like these fucking smart guys out there like Udnud and the Mischief guy and Graham and Striker, and everyone's talking about shit and they're explaining stuff. And then, we're talking about, well, why are teams going to this Blast event? Why are they going if it's online? If you're a lower team, you have to go because it's a top tier event where you could potentially scalp a big dog and get some points. If you're a big
it's
team,
not even just about I just want to also say it's not just about getting the fucking points. You get to play big tournaments, bro. I know it is like in the like the grand scheme of things, of course. But like, are you really gonna say go to Philadelphia instead of a fucking I don't know Katowice or whatever it is? Like if I put the most ridiculous comparison on the table, it's just it's also just about like you get to play these big tournaments if you're a small team and you don't get those opportunities every day.
Yeah, but this is why I made you salty, right? Because they won online games and it wasn't worth as much as the LAN games that fucking NRG
I mean, that
won.
is ridiculous for sure, right? I mean, there's no denying that.
Well, if the tournament was on LAN group stage, then it would be good.
Yeah, it would have been great.
That's what everyone wants ultimately. So there you go.
Yeah. The result would have been more more worthy as well from people at home, right?
The stupidest part is also that like this supposedly came on. I mean, I don't know who actually initiated it, whether it was Blast or the teams, but effectively it was done with the blessing of the top teams, of the cabal, who was like, yeah, fine, put it online because we don't care about the points.
Don't need the points
effectively, and like obviously that affects everybody else. That is, guys.
Yeah. I've been saying fuck the orgs for years. I'm saying let's just have 7 people. You don't need all these websites and social media people. You don't need it all. Get your five players, get yourself a coach, get yourself a manager, and take all that sticker money. Don't give any to your org. Make your logo. Make that shit in fucking Paint. Just do it yourself. You'll be swimming in more money than they can pay you. They're getting in the way. They're causing all these issues. They're making you play online. They're making you go to every event. Just get them out. Get them out. All right. I'm fucking bit hyper today. Don't know what I had. I played FaZe. I was owning on FaZe. Anyway, yeah, cool. Next topic. Should we go next topic?
Yeah, I mean, nothing really to say much on the VRS stuff. This was the point. The point is out there.
Just to get outraged.
Point
Philadelphia happened.
Listen to HLTV confirmed more teams. How about you do that?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm not putting this on the players themselves. They shouldn't be like trying to understand this, but they should have someone in their org that can tell them like, this is why we're doing it. This is why we're not doing this. Or, we're doing this. It might bite us in the ass, but this is the risk that we're taking.
Yeah.
In the hopes of, you guys beating MOUZ, which would propel you super deep into the thing. Just like, why would Liquid get 200 points if they beat FURIA at FISSURE? Because they would beat FURIA at FISSURE. So that's why. They're 20 something in the fucking world. And FURIA is top 5. Where are they? They're number 8 right now.
Yeah.
But even still, like, it's a LAN win. Liquid don't have a lot of LAN wins, right? The games they've been playing lately, they haven't been getting victories, so they need to top up the LAN wins. That's why it's important to them, right? This is a high prize money event as well. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. Anyway, it's fucking. We've got.
their last LAN win. Oh, okay. Pain and FlyQuest from Cologne.
Yes,
and that's the only one since like Blast, since Austin.
And that won't be scaled with the prize money thing, right? Because we put it in, then we took it back. So that one will just be the LAN wins. It won't be the prize money thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Anyway, let's not get into the weeds. Let's keep moving. All right. Electronics out of VP. Perfecto's going to in-game lead. And they brought in a kid from the academy instead of bringing back Flammus. That's it. That's the news. Anybody excited about VP, or do they just live, them and MOUZ just live in fucking hell? Do we just put MOUZ and VP in hell? And they actually, MOUZ versus VP, they play every day. And we make a stream of it and we see how many people watch. That's it. That's it. That's the game.
The number of memes, like the Hitler dead memes,
oh, yeah, with the electronic,
in response to this was ridiculous. I mean, yeah.
It's quite a rambunctious leader.
It was a long time coming, I think. I think that's all there is to say. I think it's cool what we just released a short Perfecto interview from Fisher, where he basically said that like him becoming an in-game leader is not the first time that like that idea came about. There was even Blade who wanted him to become one when Boomich was kicked. Rest in peace. And so it's not completely out of the blue that he's actually considering this opportunity. He did, kind of accept that it is accelerated compared to what he would have wanted. He also saw it as something that would extend his career, but obviously it was just something that needed to happen. And I don't know what other in-game leader you would take, that isn't Boomich, I guess himself. I don't even know.
My biggest issue with this is I don't know how Electronic's going to in-game lead from the positions he plays.
Perfecto, I mean, yeah.
Sorry. Perfect. I was just reading a tweet that says we got Simple, Electronic, and Flammus versus Tania, Chopper, and Zwei on FaZe at Simple's team 1. So that's why I had Electronic on the brain. That's my bad. I don't know how Perfecto is going to play from the positions, in-game lead from the positions that he plays. I know that people be like, oh yeah, but some in-game leaders play anchor spots on maps. They do, but I think that the thing is, because he's fresh to in-game leading, he doesn't have the same skirmishy macro perspective, right? He's always been an extremity player, and I feel like you need to be in the thicker things to be able to understand the macro. That's why I thought Electronic could be a good leader, because he would play aggressive rifling spots, which are adjacent with some leaders out there. But yeah, I think the real question here is, because again, nobody gives a fuck about VP. What happens to Electronic now? Is he done? Because he's still like, what is he, 25, 24? How old is he?
27.
27. Holy shit. Where did my years go?
Yeah.
So what happens to Electronic? Is he cooked? Is he done? Is he going to end up on BC game? Like, what's everyone's thoughts here on Electronic?
What about Bet Boom?
Yeah. Bet Boom are going to qualify for the major, it looks like.
Boom, boom, boom. I want you in my team.
Yeah. I don't know. Where does he go?
Honestly, I don't know. He still had some glimpses of being a good player. I think he really tanked his stock so much with the IGLing that it's going to be one or two teams before he would get anywhere back in the top 15. This is how I see it.
That sounds about right. Sounds pretty reasonable.
Thankfully, there's a shit ton of players and teams that speak Russian that are decent, where he can find his footing and start from there.
Would we ever see him going into an international team? His English is serviceable.
Well,
if he's not IGLing,
he doesn't speak it anymore, he'll have to actually talk to us.
If he's not IGLing, he can definitely be on an English-speaking team, in my opinion. And he also almost went to EG with Elige, so remember that story.
Yeah, well, hey, look, there's been some stories out there, man. Whether they're real or not, I don't know. I'll believe them all. I'll just believe everything I read on the internet these days. Yeah. Okay. I don't know.
No, I think it's gonna be a while until we see him in the top team.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
Striker, you got any behind the scenes news?
No, nothing.
All right. Well, you can explain this next one to me. Astralis changed player and ownership. So don't worry about the player part. I know that part. The ownership part. What's that about?
Yeah. So the original founder or co-founder of Astralis, Jacob Lund Christensen is his name, partnered up with Jonas Gunderson, also another very familiar name from he's back. Formerly CEO of an IP, recently more I don't know what the fuck kind of entrepreneurial stuff he was doing in crypto and whatever else. Maybe I'm wrong about that part. I'm sorry if
he was doing stuff. I don't know if it was crypto, but he was doing stuff. I was chatting to him at events.
Yeah, he was doing some like esports adjacent things.
Yep.
And he's part of this investor group that was just effectively just created for this purpose, apparently to buy out Astralis from all the shareholders that were there in the past. I think it'll involve some other people that probably aren't going to be familiar with the general audience. So I'm not going to bore people with the details because I don't even remember them, to be honest, at this point. Those are the two main people who are going to be behind that company. Funnily enough, even the old GamerLegion COO, I don't want to fuck up his nickname because I don't actually know how you pronounce it. It's like Morkzas, Julian Mikolci, I guess. Is now the VP of esports at that company, so I think he's going to be taking over Astralis in terms of maybe like a GMing type position, where he's going to be overseeing the like more hands-on approach. So that's the main three people behind that project, I would say. Okay,
for an idiot like me who knows of these people but doesn't really know if they're good or bad, is this good or bad?
I mean, it's good that Astralis as a brand is alive, and I think it is ultimately good that it comes back to ownership that is familiar with the brand, because I think, if it had gone to some of the rumored parties that were involved, I heard a lot about like a Middle Eastern group. I heard that some of these Chinese companies that were looking to buy, that were like among the people who made bids. So this one, I think even Richard Lewis might have said it in his little report just before it came out, that this wasn't even the highest bid, but it just was deemed as like the most fitting because it is people who are familiar with the organization, and obviously Danish ownership, or at least most of the ownership, I would say. I don't know the actual split, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it is a good thing that they did find new investors, because I think Astralis as a brand is still has value in Counter-Strike. Obviously not the same that it once used to, but I think it would be a shame if the biggest Danish brand in Counter-Strike would have just ceased to exist. So I don't see how this is bad news in any way.
Okay. Prof, do you have anything on this, or do you want me to punt you a question a bit more roster related?
Not really. I mean, we were talking about this earlier in the year. I believed they would be bought out in some way. I know Striker was not so hopeful. I think you were very doom and gloomy about Astralis. But see, everything is fine. Don't worry about it, man.
It took a long time. It took like 6 months for them to actually come to
much longer. And I'm curious if people are getting paid during this period or not, because you would assume they would be quite strapped for cash.
I think that was the reason why they basically had the operation cut down to absolute bare bones, which is like the players and like a basic manager and coach, and that's effectively it, right? And even like the Hooksy situation, I'm not even sure he was getting paid for that, like until he got signed up long term, right? And a lot of these things, I think everything was done just to make sure that they can pay the players, and that's it. That's basically all that they got. So now I guess they can like launch more of an operation behind it, where there's going to be like a proper social media team with a proper managing structure and all these things like that, nowadays go with an organization like this.
I think it happens to like a lot of businesses, right? Like you get too big for your britches and you start like expanding and trying to be, what are we? Are we a lifestyle brand? Are we this? Are we that? I think that a lot of companies in the tech space, and not just like esports teams, which is even harder to generate revenue, especially if you're missing every single fucking major. It's hard for them to stay afloat. And I think a lot of people had booms in the pandemic, which are now they're having to step back from. So let's get into the roster side, because this side is actually quite interesting to me. So Magisk is the new addition to the team. But as far as I believe, now you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. You remember my reading comprehension is that of a Neanderthal. It's temporary. stavn was stepping down for some personal reasons. So can I get a true or false on that?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, true. So if I take these announcements at face value, which I know you shouldn't always do, but if we do take it at face value, and Magisk is a temporary piece until stavn returns. We don't know how long until stavn returns, or if stavn returns, but we believe that he will return. Do you think that this is a good fit for a temporary amount of time?
I mean, it's obviously not a 1-to-1, right? Like it's probably as far from a 1-to-1 as you can.
But he's experienced, right? He's very experienced. He's familiar with the org and device, of course.
I mean, familiarity with the org, I don't know if that even comes into question.
Well, he knows how to wear the jersey feels.
Well, yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, it's going to be obviously a familiar sight for him to step back into that jersey, right? Otherwise, I think, I mean, the obvious I mean, the obvious move, or like one of the moves that we were considering, was for Stair to take up Stone's positions in the first place, right? Because he used to be that player in a lot of his previous teams, and then he had to move into more of the side pieces. Recently, he got more into the aggressive positions, right, into more of the space taker stuff. So this is going to be more in that direction, while Magisk is going to take up the anchoring, lurking on the sides. You know, if we are talking about recent form, I think Magisk has a lot to prove because it's obviously the end of the Falcon stint. I can't imagine it being anything other than his form being the cause for him being the one who was put on the bench rather than Tessas, because before that we all thought Magisk was the only piece that they had
and
to
Tessas
keep.
has now taken Magisk's roles.
So exactly. So there's a lot for Magisk to prove that he still is like a top tier player, and I think this is a really good opportunity for him to do that in a team that he's going to be familiar with. You know, back to Danish roots. You know, not having to deal with international lineups. You know, culture clashes and all that stuff. I'm sure he's going to be familiar with a lot of the pieces that are on this team, even if he hasn't played with a lot of them before. I think Device is his only previous teammate, right? From those times, right? So yeah, I mean, it's probably as good of a solution as you can imagine for an Astralis team that doesn't really have that many options in terms of like there are no top tier stars available in Denmark, you know, unless you want to go international.
Though, as well, that's the key, because you say that there's no obvious choice outside of that. If it's temporary, right? So I asked the questions, you know, is it temporary? Yes. Okay, we don't know how long, but this is the next point, do you, Striker, as our insider, right? Fucking Varys over here, Littlefinger, you know, fucking Game of Thrones behind the scenes. Do you think this is temporary, or is this one of those statements made by an org that is meant to kind of let the player off the hook? We'll get to another one of those a little bit later. Don't you worry about that. I
mean, the way that I understand it, it is some person like that is not a smoke screen. You know, this whole personal situation. The way I heard it was going to last until the end of the year, round about there. So I think the deal is with Magisk to stay until the major effectively, and then beyond that, I guess we'll see. I don't know exactly what the situation is. Nobody really wanted to tell me like what are the personal issues or what's the reason exactly. But as far as I can tell, it is pretty legit, and it is temporary, as they say. But nobody's.
I'm not here to measure. Is it something that I deem a fair reason to not play? It's just right. Do we think that they're properly benching him? Because realistically, Prof, if I was to pose this question to you, mate, and I was to say that this change never happened, let's say Magisk was that stavn still on the roster, still the same team that existed before this news came out. You have to change one player on the team. Who are you changing?
It really depends on who you have. I think none of them are super safe.
One of the weakest players, right?
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense. I also felt like you. I felt a bit like it's quite convenient moment for him to have like personal issues, but also it makes sense if you have personal issues that you're playing bad. It's kind of like,
of course, hand in
hand, right? But I think it is probably one of the players you would look towards, but you'd probably hope for a different player to come in. That's the only issue.
But if it was permanent, for sure. If it was a permanent change, then I think you'd be looking elsewhere. Whereas Magisk feels like a stopgap because they will get stavn back when he's ready to play, and they still think that he's a good fit for the team if he can perform better in the server, which he has to, right? Because I was reading some stuff on HLTV forums a while ago, and they were talking about stavn's mechanics being some of the worst mechanics. And like
I think that's been the case for a long time, though, to be honest. Even if his output was pretty good, like it was never his mechanics that
it was based
made him
on
stand
positioning,
out.
Right?
Yeah.
And that ain't going to cut the mustard anymore. Like even Hooksy's put a lot more time into his individual performance, and you see that. So I look, as far as if this is the Astralis that we're dealing with for the rest of the year, I could see Hooksy taking over some more map control positions. Why couldn't he now? Like he wouldn't be the only in-game leaders playing some more map control positions like that, especially on the CT side. So I can't see, because I think Yabi being moved into these anchor roles was good. You could have Yabi as your active anchor, and you could have Magisk as your more passive anchor. Hooksy now joins Stair and Device in the pack, and if Hooksy's able to continue hitting shots like we've seen, then his output is going to match that of stavn's, if not better. I think it's fine. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's what I said at the beginning, right? Like it's Stair that can enable for this, right? But we haven't, like, if anything, he actually struggled once he got put into more of the star roles that we thought he might be able to fulfill. So it's more down to him to prove that he wasn't just an overqualified anchor that actually did perform really well in those positions and can take all that pressure on himself where he has to be the main star or main rifler star.
Yeah, okay. All right, boys, we've still got heaps of topics to get through. Anyone else want to say anything on Astralis?
No, let's see them play.
Let's jump into the next one. So, Striker, you used a term there. You said smoke screen. This next one is regarding Spirit. Now, there was a lot coming out of the Spirit camp. It's been rumored for a while, or it's been, I should say reported. I think rumored is unfair. It's been reported that Tania is going to be joining Spirit and replacing zont1x. Now, the discourse that has come out of the Spirit camp is that zont1x requested some time away after the major win last year in Shanghai. The team was unable to grant it to him until after the summer break, and then it took longer for them to be able to find a replacement for him. And that's why he's been lingering in these last couple of events, and it's kind of just been this thing that's been petering out for some time.
Okay, now, may I intervene here?
You may.
First of all, this already doesn't make sense. Now it only is connecting to me now, but
okay,
they already signed a player. Zwei came in. Why couldn't he come in for
replace zont1x?
zont1x. Why couldn't this happen?
It's a great point.
Why couldn't this happen? Someone tell me why this couldn't happen. There's no reason. Like, it's not. I understand maybe Magisk is not like the long-term solution you want, but he's already on the team. He's not horrible, so you could have just had Zwei play zont1x, and this, to the average, not the average, but most people that watch Zwei play would say this is probably where you'd want him, or has a bit more freedom than what Magisk was like complete bitch
Anchor
roles.
bitch, yeah.
So why didn't this happen?
So this is it.
At
right?
Overdrive OD on Twitter.
There was, and people can go and find it. They can look at Spirit's Twitter. I think there's still screenshots of what Overdrive said, and zont1x also made a tweet. So it's probably important just to read the verbiage of this. Let me see if I can find it. The Tania one. Where's the text that they put out? Where's the text?
It was in reply, maybe it was.
No, here it is. Here it is. I found it. It's from the 8th. So I'll read this out for everybody. Rifle of the team Spirit main CS2 roster. zont1x has been benched due to his own personal request several months ago. zont1x informed Team Spirit management that he needed some time off in order to solve certain personal issues. It took us a while to provide him with such an opportunity, avoiding negative consequences for the roster stability. At the same time, we undoubtedly respect his choice. Throughout all these years, zont1x has made a tremendous contribution to the development of our roster, both inside and beyond. His composure, humanity, and stable performance has made him a vital. Anyway, that's just fucking
humanity. I missed that part.
And then now let me go to zont1x's page. Where is he? Here he is. zont1x then tweeted later that same day, to anyone seeking more clarity regarding my departure from Team Spirit's active roster after the major, I asked the management for a break from competing due to several personal reasons. Since the organization needed time to arrange a transfer for a replacement, we agreed that I will have to play for some time after summer players break. I am expected to be back competing this winter. So that last bit, the plot thickens even more. And then this is where I return to what Striker mentioned in the last little conversation about a roster with Astralis of smokescreen. Striker, do you take this at face value, or do you think that this is a smokescreen?
I am very confused about the whole situation, because there's a lot that I heard over the let's say period from just before the player break into like after it, where there was very clear signs that they were after Tania, at least considering him very heavily for a long time. Around that time, that could be because of what zont1x said, and they didn't feel like Zwei could fill those shoes. That's possible. But the way that I heard the whole thing happening was that they were actively looking for replacements, and that it wasn't like it wasn't a result of a request. They were just looking to upgrade the roster effectively, and to fix issues that the roster was facing towards the end of the season.
Striker?
That's the part that it doesn't make sense to me, because like outwardly, why would you effectively make the scene think that you're playing with a temporary roster? Because that's not a good thing for you to project yourself as, because I mean, obviously, you know what the talk is going to be like. This team it's not a real team anyway, and blah blah blah. You don't really want that talk to be happening, but they
have left the door open for that to be the case.
Door definitely open to the, and zont1x did the most. He's like, I'm expected, which I'm not 100% certain that this is just the down to a language barrier, or if it is exactly what he meant, that externally he is expected to come back by wintertime. Overdrive also said that there's a possibility where he comes back into the roster. I could only imagine that it would be if Zwei doesn't doesn't work out in the end, doesn't get his consistency fixed, all these things. It could just be that, but it could also be that for now they just want this roster, and then they just keep him on the bench as a potential solution to a problem that they are anticipating. Let's say if Zwei doesn't work out, or even if Tanir doesn't work out, maybe he's just not going to integrate into the team as well as they hope. So maybe that's like kind of half and half situation where maybe they were looking for an upgrade already. Then zont1x came in to ask for some time off, and they just figured, okay, this is the best solution for everybody involved then, and this is how we're going to deal with it. So I'm still very on the fence about, or like on the edge about what I thought I knew, and what I heard now, or more in recent times, and what they've said publicly. That I don't want to say either way whether it was just a flat out lie or it's just some sort of a truth that lies in the middle of everything.
So this is the thing, that the dirt sheets were saying that there's something with zont1x's passport because he's Ukrainian. And he might not be able to go back to Ukraine because he plays with the Russian team, even though that team is based in Serbia. Also, I don't know everything that's going on there in terms of if men can come and go, and because some Ukrainian teams leave, and I don't want to comment on that because I'm not aware. But there was some comments about him potentially not being able to renew his passport, which could be true. Those could be the personal things, and I can understand why they wouldn't want to talk about that. This isn't a fun topic by any stretch of the imagination. So the only way that we'll really know is if he returns to play at the start of next year or late this year in a crazy world, which is really, we're in September, so it's not very long. We only have October, November, and December remaining, right? So if we see him return, then the thing that I don't get is if zont1x is going to fix his issues and then return, why would he want the org cock blocking and being like, yeah, he might come back to us? Wouldn't he want it to be like, I want to be back competing start competing again next year, right? And he would want to be able to at least float his options and see what teams would want him. Now, by Spirit kind of keeping hold of him, it limits his options if he does return to competing. And I just wonder if that will stifle the kid's chances, because he's very good at what he does, right? Like, obviously the worst critique people have of him is he doesn't shoot players in the head, but he's still a very, very valuable piece. And I think he has a very good rating, I will say. Yeah, he has a very good macro understanding of the game. And I think if you gave me the choice right now, personal issues, time needed away aside, and you said, do you want Zwei in these positions or do you want zont1x in these positions? I would take zont1x. I think zont1x could adapt and play those supportive positions and milk a lot out of it. And I would take that right now. And I think Zwei's young and he will adapt and he will get better over time. But if you're asking me right now, I would take Tanir and zont1x over Tanir and Zwei. Like that. I know they're not in that spot, but yeah, that's just my thoughts.
I will say one thing. I mean, from everything we've heard about the Spirit as an organization, I don't think they are exploitative in that sort of a way. Usually
it doesn't
they
feel like it.
There's never been cases that I've heard that where players weren't happy with the way that they were kept on a contract or things like that. We obviously saw it with the Kiyosuke situation where they let him go to a team even though they wanted him in the main roster, or at least they wanted to explore that possibility, but he just wanted to go somewhere else, and so they made that happen. Maybe it just came with a really big buyout that Falcons were happy to match. That's also possible, that it was a very big amount, that they locked him behind, to make this happen. But still, there's never been anything that would make me think that they're in any way blocking their players from doing something that they want, right? So it could just be from zont1x's perspective, that if I do have a chance to come back, I would rather be on this team than somewhere else, because this is what for whatever reason, right? So, I mean, it's familiarity. It's a team that he's succeeded a lot with, and coming into a different environment that is not Russian speaking. Well, it could be, but I guess there's no team on the same level that is Russian speaking that he could join and have the same possibility of competing for trophies, right? So the only places for him would be a FaZe, or I mean, it would have been maybe G2 in the past, not anymore, I guess, or some of these like MOUZ, let's say, if they ever want to upgrade the side pieces, any of these,
Mate, we're
like,
all looking to upgrade our side pieces. I'll tell you that much, mate. We're all looking to upgrade our side pieces. Keep them on a rotation, striker.
Navi would be a big one, obviously. So from that, like, he would have options, so maybe he just doesn't want them if there's a world where he can come back into the main roster after this supposed break that he's taking.
Yeah,
why would you not want to play with Donk?
It just altogether just doesn't really add up. That doesn't add up to me. I don't know if we'll ever really understand. But again, like, why is Tanier only signed now? Like, why did Heroic do this whole xCloud minus xCloud plus xCloud thing? Because that essentially blocked Tanier to going to Spirit sooner. So it's just weird, and it really unfortunately leaves Spirit in this weird limbo where we don't really know. Is this the lineup that's going to be going for? Are they? We don't know really how to judge them. Just like this whole. The last two tournaments for zont1x that were like sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. You're kind of like, well, he's going out anyway, so can't really take that too seriously as a performance indicator or anything. So you're just waiting for it to end, and now we have another same situation with the statement that opened more questions than it answered in many ways.
It gives us something to talk about, so that's fun. Yeah. And we only get to see the outcome in like 3 to 6 months' time. So that's also fun. There's no point us talking about the Tanier edition itself right now, because I think we should just save it until they play EPL. That'll be the next event.
We spoke about the theory of this quite a bit anyway.
Yeah. So we don't need to spend too long on that. Okay. Let's jump into the next topic right now, which is MIBR following in the footsteps of FURIA. They've decided to pick up 2 people from the Eastern European bloc. So they picked up Kikit from Kazakhstan and Klim. Where's he from?
He's Russian.
Okay, there you go. And I don't know why. Don't know why.
It's just following the blueprint, Chad.
But it's sad.
It's just following the blueprint.
It's sad. I like the amount of talent that's been coming through Brazil. It's just never been able to end up in the same roster. And now it's even more sucky because like Pain are not full Brazilian. FURIA are not full Brazilian. MIBR are not full Brazilian. When is Insani going to get to play on a good team? Are we ever going to see like a proper good Brazilian 5-man team again? At least not for the foreseeable future with the way that all these pieces are fractured. I don't really care about the kicker and the Klim edition, right? Those are whatever. We'll see how those age. I just hate this. I'm so sad that we haven't been able to get everybody with some talent in Brazil on the same team, or even not even just the best guys. Like, let's say you can't have Caserado and Yuri, but at least you could have like Insani with Big Uzera. Like, give me that. Like, give me something.
Yeah, and QZ, that's it. That's all we need. We need just like 3 really good players. We can only get 2. You can only get 2, guys. That's how it is.
Sad. It's sad. So, but yeah, in terms of the overall picture, I don't really have too much to say. I don't know if you guys care.
Did you see Klim was a bit of a naughty boy on Face It?
Yes, I did see. He's come out with a public statement. Yeah.
I was hoping this was like, something old that resurfaced, when he was playing in Europe. No, he came to Brazil 2 weeks in, instantly used that. The one word that is much more offensive to say to a Brazilian. It's a yikes. It's a yikes for me there. But he's going to go through education for it, and they said this is the last straw. That's it.
Like the first straw. The first straw is the last straw, mate.
First straw, last straw.
He's on thin ice immediately. Yeah, I bet MIBR regretting their choice immediately, isn't he? So he said, this is what he said. He made a tweet. During a match, I used the word.
I thought you were gonna. It wasn't that bad to be.
Well, you could
in terms of like if you're a European and you're saying this in a Face-It match in Europe, obviously you wouldn't have. Nobody would have batted an eye. Nobody would have batted an eye. Like, he's a bit of an asshole. But over there, it's obviously seen as a racist remark if you call somebody a monkey.
People in Face-It think I'm an asshole. I call people dogs in Face-It all the time. Like, anyway, he said during a match, I used the word. a word that rightfully generated a strong reaction. I want to be completely transparent about what happened. In the heat of a trash talk exchange, I responded with a term that I now know has historic significance in Brazil. Now, how old is this kid?
19.
Okay, bro, he's a 19-year-old Russian kid. Like, I would hate to like immediately start thinking, oh, this kid's racist, and just like that's why he's doing it. Like, anyway, he goes on. Has historical significance in Brazil. While in my culture, this word is often used as a generic insult, like, I guess that's a Brazilian one. I don't want to say that because it's anyway. I understand that its impact here is completely unacceptable. There was no racist intent on my part, and I apologize to anyone I offended. I recognize that intention does not erase. Oh, they've done a great apology here. This is a great one. He's apologizing and also saying that ignorance is no defense. Right, this is great. They've done a great job, the MIBR PR team here. I recognize the intention does not erase the effect of the words, and I understand the gravity of what was said. In addition to the measures my organization is taking, I'm personally committed to educating myself about Brazilian culture and history, which makes sense. You're playing for a team literally called Made in Brazil. So
It's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, you say something stupid. It's not like. I think this is actually the most appropriate sort of response I've seen to such a situation happening in a long time, to be honest.
Wait till we get into talking about women's health. That's the next segment.
Well, yeah,
don't you worry about that, Striker. That one's coming up next.
That's maybe not in the same area, but I think
League of Legends.
as much as you don't want to keep it just like without saying anything, because obviously, the word is taken in a certain way in the region, and it carries a lot more weight than it does over here.
Yeah.
So you can't leave it as it is, but you also have to understand, like, this guy doesn't know the culture. Like, realistically, I know people are like, oh, how can you not know that they just take badly to the word monkey? I'm like, bro, if I wasn't in CS, I would, like, if I wasn't like around Brazilians all the time, I would also not know. So it's
there's a lot of stuff that's always culturally fallen through the cracks, right? The same thing happens with like the Turkish fan base or the Brazilian fan base, like ones that their language, they don't really.
What about the Turkish fan base, Chad? What do you have to say about the
Turkish fan base? We love Aurora. We're going to talk about him in a second because we're about to talk about fucking FISSURE. Happy? Move on.
Yeah, let's
keep going.
All right, let's get through this final portion of the show, everybody. So FISSURE is coming up starting tomorrow. I think the teams all flew in yesterday. They probably did some version of Media Day today. This is a 16-team event running from September 12th, ending on the 21st. It's going on in Belgrade, Serbia. It's called FISSURE Playground 2. They ran an event earlier on in the year. It has a $1.25 million prize pool, which has club share. It's $200,000 for first going to the players exclusively and $160,000 going to the club. So it's $360,000 for first. That's all you should really care about as a viewer. You shouldn't care about the semantics of the club share. Actually, who am I to tell you what you should care about? If you care about it, that's great. If you don't, I don't. So cool. Great. The teams in attendance are the Mongolz, G2, Aurora, FURIA, Falcons, FaZe, 3D Max, Pain, Astralis, TYLOO, GamerLegion, Liquid, Heroic, Linvision, Virtus Pro, and Legacy. So obviously we have the likes of Na'Vi missing, we've got Vitality missing, we have Spirit missing, and we have MOUZ missing. So those are the top names. But regardless of that, this is an event that I'm very, very excited to watch. It has a field that I think is quite juicy, and a lot of names who I think play some good Counter-Strike and are in conversation for the trophy. So without further ado, guess what, everybody? That's exclusively on Kick. And it'll be an arena final in Serbia. And if Falcons make it, Nico will get to play in front of his home crowd. And you know what? You can say, no, he's not Serbian. He's Bosnian. But I checked with Janko. He said it's fine if I say it's the home crowd. So I hope you like that, because Janko gave me permission to say it. So yeah. Okay, cool.
There's such a thing as Bosnian Serbs, by the way, of which he's one. So it is basically both.
One time I looked at Liquipedia and I said on this podcast or another podcast, I said that fucking Kixon was North Macedonian, and I got lit up and saying he's not North Macedonian, he's just Macedonian. And I only said it because it was on fucking Liquipedia. And I couldn't even point to
because
Macedonia.
The country, it is literally called North Macedonia. So like
I couldn't point to it on a map. I got no idea.
I like the foreshadowing, by the way. The G2, the old G2 waiting in the background that of course has zero of the players that are there now.
I was reusing this. I built this while you were talking about Astralis. No one noticed. I completely forgot about this. And Dimitri is at FISSURE, and he's doing some stuff over there. So I had to do this myself. So you can see the quality is not the highest. As you can see, there's also just like stuff in the background that I like covered with the box.
No, nice though. I like it. You've done well here. So what I've kind of, what Prof's come up with, because I suggest the idea of coming up with a kind of a tier listy type thing where we talk about, you know, the expectations of a team and how important this event is. And I think one that we can start with, which we can really just talk about the importance of the event, is Liquid. I think that should be a starting point here, because for Liquid, if people haven't been paying attention to the stats geeks who are bringing you all the VRS numbers, they're in jeopardy of potentially not making the major. This event for them, Prof highlighted earlier, I think he said it had something like 200 points on the line for them going up against FURIA with that type of a win. It's very, very important that this team are able to pick up victories at FISSURE. So my expectation is not very high. I know that they can play on their best day a high caliber of Counter-Strike, but that's not an expectation. That's a hope, but it's very important.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, I like where you put them in on the importance scale, please. The expectation we can talk about.
Yeah, importance, I put them on the max. This is 100% their most important event in terms of qualifying for the major. They have, it's a Swiss system, right? So three wins, 3 losses.
Again.
Playing FURIA again, yes. But I would say, when you look at the field, it has to be above average expectations for them to do here. I think.
Really? What's your expectation?
I think the expectation is to make playoffs.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know. Am I
what are you
delusional? Am I delusional? I don't know. They had some decent games, usually playing against like much better opposition. So what's the thing is they only had very few wins.
Yeah.
So I have 5 teams that I would rattle off immediately that I think I have expectations to make playoffs. G2, Falcons, FURIA, the Mongolz, Aurora.
Yep.
Those teams I all have expectations to make the playoffs. After
but
that,
the rest of them, though,
it gets murky between the next 3. Like there's a...
Because look at the teams that they lost to. They lost to Spirit, G2, Vitality.
FaZe MOUZ like before that.
Put Liquid up against GamerLegion, 3D Max, Astralis.
Yeah.
Are they beating those teams? Like it's close. It's close. They can beat them. It's close though. Close.
This I have it in my loins. I feel it just slightly. I feel like they're doing good enough.
That's fine.
But this is how I feel. But I'm happy to adjust.
No, I think it's okay to have expectations of a team like Liquid with the players in the team. I think that's the whole reason that everyone's so upset not seeing them perform well, is because people do have high expectations with the name value of the org and the players. So you can, that's fine. We'll give it to you. We'll give it to you there. That's all good in the hood. Let's throw some teams around here. I
mean, Falcons is a huge one that we can just place basically like top right corner effectively. I mean, maybe not importance. I would just put them like very top right corner. Maybe
do you think
slightly,
it's important? Why is it important?
I think it's just because of their lack of results up to now with this roster, right? I mean, they haven't really shown much with Kyosuke yet. So I think it is important for them to start showing something before, the lead up to the major. And this is probably their best chance at doing so before the end of the year effectively, because I don't think they're going to get competition this week again until the end of the year, I would imagine. And I say week, I just mean there's no Vitality, there's no Spirit, there's no MOUZ. There's none of the top teams that they would usually probably be very close with. So this is the tournament that they would probably expect to win, or at least go in with the goal of winning, so that they can finally get some of that confidence that they're on the right path, right? They've built the right roster and all these things. Yeah. So I think importance wise, and same thing with expectations, they've missed couple of tournaments to prioritize this one. So I think it's also their own expectations. Our expectations of them should be very high. They should be effectively, like, if they're not in the final, I think that's a failure.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. I like that. Let's go for one that's a little bit more of a negative one. I have very low expectations for VP.
Yeah.
Okay.
But aren't they on the
also
bubble?
Very high importance.
Yes, that's the thing. Low expectations, but high importance. They have an academy player into the main roster, and they have Perfecto in-game leading, who's also returned from a year-long break.
Is this kind of where we're putting them almost towards the bottom?
I have even
bottom
lower
right?
expectations than that.
Even lower than this.
Is there a basement? I would like to go there.
This
please.
is the lowest it can. This is the lowest in my.
Can it
I
be?
have the lowest expectation for VP.
I guess it's like a meta discussion because, like, are they low for the expectations we should have for this team, or are they actually low for this team? You know, because obviously, you know, with the changes that are coming in, there's no way they could ever be higher. You know, so I guess bottom right is fine.
I think like there's one thing, there's a bit of VP lethargy. There's the other is the complexion that they have.
Yeah, but are you actually expecting, like, are the expectations of VP lower than? Actually, there's no really bad team at this event.
No, there
completely
isn't.
Honest.
There's no mega bad team. There's
if you look at Legacy, TYLOO, like FlyQuest.
What did he say?
So there's no FlyQuest.
Oh.
Yeah, but I mean, Legacy, TYLOO, LinVision, maybe LinVision.
Pain 3D Max.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think this is fair in terms of the competition. Is actually not. There's no like free wins.
They could bomb out easily. Like they could easily go 0-3.
Flip it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, next one, G2 for you, Chad. Where do you want to put
I think
your favorite team?
I have high expectations because I like the type of Counter-Strike that they're playing. In terms of importance, I just saw a tweet from, was it Udnud? He just said that where is it? I really got to fucking start leaving these tweets open. If G2 reaches the FISSURE 2 grand final, they'll be ranked above Vitality Spirit on the October 6th VRS ranking. That guys would make them the highest seeded team for the major, other than Mongolz, right?
Sure.
They'd be the highest seeded European team. But that's not that important for them. What's important is them just being in the top 6 European teams.
Yeah, stage 3, effectively, top 5.
So how would you put on the importance scale? Is it on the middle somewhere?
It's more in the middle.
Yeah.
I think the importance is more in the middle, but I have high expectations. So I think you've placed it pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Okay. Heroic?
Yeah, sure. Can do that.
Low expectations. I have low expectations.
Where are they on the VR? They're good,
like,
right?
They're like pretty safe to make it to the first stage.
Are they
at
on
least.
the bubble?
They're even somewhere. Like they're somewhere on the they're all in that group of teams but they're on top of it, like at the top of it at the moment. Like they're projected to be like the first team invited to stage 1.
I don't think they can go 0-3. Like I think 0-3 is bad.
Yeah, I think they can bomb out. I think they just I don't think I can check whether one of the guys said something specifically about heroic.
So I feel like mid towards low importance, like 50, low expectations 50% on both axes.
I think that's fair.
That's kind of how I felt based on.
Well, I don't know. Maybe there is more importance. Maybe 50% important, because if they go 0-3, right? And
they can bomb. They shouldn't bomb out. I think that put them somewhere in danger at least. So
if they do bomb out, like surely it becomes more of a conversation, because the teams around them, some of them are at this event, and if those teams start doing well,
could make a huge run.
I think maybe we can do slightly. We can do even slightly more, just because there's a major on the line, so there should be more, like more in the somewhere there.
That's perfect.
I think that's good.
Great. That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
FURIA are counted as an Americas team. So in terms of importance, I wouldn't say it's major level importance, but I think it's a confidence building level of importance. So I would put them behind Falcons and Liquid. I'd put them ahead of G2 because they got blown out in that stage match. So I think if they make it to the stage, I think that they need a good result on stage. Doesn't mean they have to win. They just need to win a game on stage against a comparable opponent, I think.
Okay. So
I would say higher than average expectations.
Yeah.
And
kind of up a bit, maybe up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I'm happy with that.
So they would be like for you guys alongside G2, Falcons, FURIA, and I guess Mongolz would be the 4 favorites. We can go maybe with
we can work the Mongolz
next.
in there. High expectations but low importance.
Yeah, they would be
very low importance for them. Yeah,
they're locked in as first team from Asia anyway, so they already won a decent event in EWC. So there's not really
maybe
it would be nice to win again.
It would be nice to win again. Yeah,
but as long as they have like a good tournament, like make it to like a semi or something, I think they're super happy and they should be pretty favorites.
Now, Prof, I know that the Turkish fan base did try and get me cancelled because they think I'm racist. So let me talk about Aurora here. All right.
Let me actually do something.
Let me actually talk. No, Aurora should be high expectation, high importance. And the reason they should be high expectation and high importance is they have played a very, very solid game of Counter-Strike all year, right? They made the playoffs of every single event other than fucking the major, which is kind of the worst one to not qualify for, but yeah. And then Cologne, they didn't have zont1x. So Cologne, we let them off the hook. They didn't have zont1x. But they may have made grand finals, but they have never won a grand final. And if this team wants to put themselves in a position where they're able to be in the conversation for major trophy winners in Budapest, they need to show themselves that they're able to win a title. And an event like this, with a field that is quite even across the board and a few opponents that they're very familiar with, this is an event where you should have high expectations for them to make the playoffs. And I think that the importance doesn't come from major qualification. It comes from the belief that they're able to lift the trophy. I also think that it's high importance as well because the smorgasbord of teams available to play against in a format where they'll play a minimum. If they make it to the grand final, they'll play a minimum of 6 games, right? 3 Swiss, quarter, semi, final, right? So that's 6. I want to see more depth of their map pool because the conversation coming out of the break was Valve took Anubis away from us. What do we play now? And I would like to see them continue to show more depth on the maps in the pool as opposed to just having that home go-to always win of Anubis. So that's my take on Aurora. I think all the players are really good. And I just want to shout out to the Aurora fan base. Let's go Aurora. This is your time. If you don't win this one, you win in Thunderpick. Let's go Aurora.
Fun fact: why this win is coming for Aurora. The last time and the only time I saw Turkish team winning a tournament on a stage was in Belgrade in 2016, the World Championship.
Oh, TWC.
Yeah,
okay.
not the Thunderpick World Championship, but the World Championship. So maybe it's a throwback moment. Don't think they got paid for that one. Hopefully they can get paid for this one.
Yeah.
Positioning okay, so just like importance as Falcons, but a slightly lower expectations than Falcons.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, FaZe is a great one. Importance. Let's start with importance.
Well, they're going to qualify for the major either way, aren't they?
Yeah.
Major-wise,
And
not.
I think they're basically like stage 2, like guaranteed unless they do really, really well.
But the thing is, like, for this team, for this project to do, I think they need to make a playoff run here again.
So that's importance from that perspective. But my expectations are middle of the road.
Yeah, I agree.
For me, they're coin toss.
Smack in the middle.
Well, I think for importance sake, I would like, because if they actually want to be a team contending for trophies, they should go in the middle of high importance.
Okay,
Yeah.
a little bit.
That's what I think. Like if they want, because like this is an event where Vitality's not there, MOUZ isn't there, Spirit's not there.
I think even now, looking at it now, we didn't finish still, but you can see that most teams are towards the high importance in this, and this is why this tournament is actually quite interesting, and why it's proving to be like, this is going to decide a lot, is that it does decide a lot. And if you look at an average tournament, you wouldn't really, I don't think we'd put this many teams in like high importance category. GamerLegion.
So GamerLegion, they're in the same category as a Heroic, right? They're actually lower on the rankings. And
yeah, very, very similar position, maybe even a little bit worse, yeah.
I
So
think
pretty high importance.
Yeah, I think probably in line with FaZe's level of importance.
Yeah.
But maybe, I don't know.
Well, like
maybe
the Heroic-ish, maybe slightly ahead of Heroic in terms of importance, type thing.
I feel like my expectations is higher though, but
Higher than FaZe? You want to say that, but then you actually think about GamerLegion recently.
yeah.
You think about watching Kersey on some of these maps. You're like, not too excited about this guy.
Can you overlap the G with the bottom of the F? That's too much. That's too much. The G with the bottom of the F. The G with the bottom of the yeah. That's it.
Okay, so slightly.
Very specific.
That's it. That's what I wanted.
FGL.
Okay.
Okay.
You only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams left that are from the like lower. I guess Astralis is the biggest one. left here.
Yeah.
I
mean,
don't
would say
know what
very-
expectations.
I would say low importance in terms of, because they're basically guaranteed to make the major as well. Also, first event with a stand-in, all these things, like it's obviously in terms of they want to have some reassurance that this works and all that stuff, but I don't think we have high expectations of them either.
Yeah.
I would probably put them somewhere in the lower, the like left top, bottom left quadrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
It's kind of like they're coming here to play. What happens, happens.
Yeah.
That's kind of it from Astralis for this one.
When was the last time we saw Pain? Was it online?
Didn't they come to play Fissure 1 and they got bombed? They bombed out.
I'm pretty sure they played
Then
Bounty, didn't they?
They did well in Cologne. Not in Cologne. No, they didn't do well.
They played Bounty.
Somebody else.
They played
So the
Bounty
results-
afterwards.
yeah.
They beat
So the
NIP,
results
lost to
are 9th
Mongolz.
to 12th at Fissure 1, losses to LAN 3D Max. Cologne stage 1, 9th to 12th. So whatever that is, 21st to 20. I don't remember. Astralis losses to Astralis and Liquid. The only team they beat is Big, and then Bounty 9th to 16th. They lost to Mongolz, beats NIP.
So here's the question. This is the question to the room. Do you guys think Pain are a good team?
I want to say yes, but they haven't shown it in a while, so it's hard to say.
I would put them in the middle, like smack bang.
In the middle.
Yeah, because I kind of agree with Striker. I think they have shown some interesting peaks, but we haven't seen it consistently. And there's several factors that play into that, like the level of opponent or online.
I think recent form is
rough.
Has to be lower than this. The expectations have to be lower.
I'm happy to lower it. But don't be surprised if Pain make playoffs.
I'd put it here in this, like,
okay,
Astralis, Heroic, Pain.
Yeah,
okay,
could be.
Well, TYLOO won FISSURE Playground 1, didn't they?
TYLOO is a weird one, bro. How do you? There it is.
Yeah, there you go. I'm fine with that.
Bang.
And then you'd put LinVision directly under that.
How LinVision been? Are they safe for the major?
Yeah, they'll be fine, bro. These three, Mongolz, TYLOO, LinVision, are all going to be fine. Unless there's some crazy local land farming that gets out of control and somebody's brother gets involved or something like that. I don't know how else it could happen.
You mean somebody, the player, or just on
I meant
No, they're like projected to finish like
third?
200 points ahead of the Mongolians, like the second best Mongolian team.
I feel like for them, then the importance has to be like super low.
Okay, but then I guess for TYLOO, because they won a trophy, you'd still want to see them compete. That's why I guess the expectation can be higher and the importance is higher.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, so they just played, like LinVision just played this weird Perfect World CS challenge thing that's like that everybody just kind of like forgot about, or like nobody really watched it. I feel like I say that because I didn't, and I actually forgot about it. And obviously, what I do is what the rest of the world does.
Obviously.
And so they lost to 3D Max, then beat Rare Adam Bait, and then they lost to TYLOO, which is like they've lost to TYLOO the last 10 times or whatever it is now. It's been a struggle for them in that matchup.
It would be good for them to get some scalps, though, wouldn't it, against decent European opponents?
I think they've always have, right? Like every time they play somewhere, like last time they played Fissure, they beat 3D Max Pain to make it to the playoffs, to make it to 5th to 8th, lost to Astralis. I mean, they're somewhere in that group of teams of like maybe Heroic as well, Heroic, 3D Max, Pain type Astralis situation in terms of expectations. So I think that where they are, maybe importance a little bit higher just because they don't have. What else do they have happening? Actually, they do play
not for major,
kind of everything.
but I think for them as a team, I think the wins are important, right? To help kind of push them forward going into the major run.
Push them 20 pixels forward.
Okay, 3D Max, Gravity in-game leading now. They won that event in China that Striker was just talking about. I think that these guys need to show that they're not just a playoff gatekeeper. So I don't think my expectations are high. I'd put the middle of the road.
Yeah, I think
but it's important, I think.
Some importance from like being competitive in this field, because these are all teams they should be at. I guess the 5 above them are teams. Okay, they lost to them, I think
this is actually a perfect place for them in terms of expectations.
Mongolz, G2, Falcons, Aurora, FURIA. These are teams. Okay, you can lose to these teams, but everyone else they should be beating at this point because they've been there in the rankings. But at the same time, I don't think anyone really believes in them that much. So I think that's the importance to prove that. And then, they're a solid team. So expectations are solid, but they don't need to like
I think
do
you
any
put them
crazy anything crazy.
perfectly. Like they're just behind like they're not in like the title contention category, but they do need to do something in the playoffs, you know, to prove it, like along with the FaZe Liquid type conversation. So I think that's perfect place.
I don't know where I'd put Legacy.
Why do I want to give them slightly more higher expectations than Pain?
Mine are less.
What do you think?
I don't even
Striker?
remember what they played last time. I'm trying to like remember what they even played. Like, London, so last place, but they lost to FlyQuest. That's why probably you wanna put them low.
He's trying to make sure their logo's on front.
Right.
Bring to front. Yeah.
Bring to front.
That one.
There we go.
There you go.
I don't know. It didn't work first time.
I wouldn't put them higher than. I wouldn't put them higher than Pain.
I'd put them on the same level. You can put them on over the top of each other if you want.
Okay,
I would say importance-wise, how it is actually looking in Americas. I actually don't know where they are.
They haven't played them.
Americas, they are still stage 2 even. They're fine. Worst case stage 1. They're still kind of like in that area for stage 2, which I guess is kind of important so that you don't just start with with all the edge teams, but not super high importance.
That's kind of where they do their best work, isn't it? Working their way up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Nice. Good job, Prof.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah.
I think this gives us a good, baseline to come back and judge how teams did after the event.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into our final little piece of the show. This is What Are the Odds? It's a segment that we've done in the past, but we've got a new gambling sponsor at the moment. But gamble responsibly. This is Stake, and we're exclusively going to be streaming on Kick now. This is What Are the Odds? What is the question we've gone for this week, Prof?
So this time we did it a bit differently. What are the odds X team will win the event? So we'll have 4 different teams. Each of us has one team. We each create the odds for that single team, and
Who are
then
the 4 teams.
Just to finish, and then after that, people can already do that. Go on Stake, and there will be actually this exact thing as an offer, so people can bet if they want to offer, or if they want to bet not with our odds, with odds that actual people that know something make. So you just need to check exactly, and you can compare and see what makes sense, what doesn't make sense.
That would
Don't let me set strategies
very very
they I was hoping for that, but they were smart enough to understand that we would fuck over the whole system in like 5 minutes. So they were like, yeah, we appreciate your insight, but we'll make our own odds at the end of the day. But
maybe
yeah,
we should be like a fact, like a slight factor, that they would consider.
I'm sure they'll consider. They're listening to this and adjusting live. Yeah. I sent Lucas who's doing what. Let me just check. Okay, so Mongolz Striker, G2 Chad, Falcons Prof, and Aurora for the chat.
Okay,
so nice. We're unbiased. So you just put a percentage, and then the odds we'll create it.
You said I got G2.
You said G2.
Damn, I'm in one of the best spots.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, percentage on G2 to win the overall event. Okay, so I think Mongolz and Aurora are probably the 2 biggest threats to G2 being able to win the event, with Falcons and FURIA being just outside of that. So if I had... Okay, I would say that G2 have... Fuck, I suck at anything with numbers. I would say that G2 have a 45% chance of winning.
High.
45.
That is really
You
high.
see them as big favorites in this.
You see, I told you, can I adjust? I'm bad with numbers.
You can adjust.
Okay, so I think I've done something wrong here. Let me just try and recalculate.
Let me help you with the basic math. If you have 4 favorites that you think are the same, that would be 25%.
Yeah,
right?
Okay. So if I have 5, yeah. Can you make it 20%, Lucas? Make it 22%. 22%.
That's a bit more reasonable, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
22%. I have a 22% chance G2 win the event. That's not showing a lot of conviction, but now I'm doing things with numbers.
Would you say that they're the highest on your list to win this event?
No.
Who's the...
Mongolz is the highest on my list.
Yeah? Okay.
Mongolz is the highest on my list for sure.
That's what I would say as well. Okay. We're at 21%. That's pretty high. But not bad, actually.
Well, yeah, maybe there's some Aurora fans in the chat.
I'll go... Well, I have Mongolz, right?
Yeah.
I will go with 30%. I think they're like the favorites to win, but not by like a huge amount.
Yeah, I'm super conflicted on Falcons. Like I feel like it's a great moment for them to win. I feel like things are lining up perfectly. Imagine a G2 Falcons final. Wouldn't that be amazing?
I think
Hunter
G2
versus
Falcons
Nico.
or G2 Mongolz would be sick, or Falcons Mongolz would be sick. I think those games all have like really cool like firepower head-to-heads. Could be really quite fun in those type of games.
But I have to be real. I think third highest favorite for me. So I would give it like a 15%.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think 15%.
I thought you were going to go unreasonable.
No, I'm gonna be reasonable. I want it to go like higher, but I think this is a reasonable number. This is a reasonable number.
So there should be an outright market for this. Is essentially the case, right? So I'm looking at it now because I look. I'll
Mine
be honest
actually might be pretty spot on, to be honest.
I'll be honest with everybody. The sports betting and stuff is like huge in Australian culture, and I did it back when I was a kid with tennis, like because some of my mates used to like to watch tennis. So when you go to the pub, you just whack 50 on a guy to play and just be like, oh, he won, that's cool. So I don't have like the biggest understanding of like the odds, but I do know that low number means favorite. So Mongols are paying $3.40 to win. Falcons are paying $4 to win. G2 are $4.40. FURIA are $4.40, Aurora are $5, and then
very close actually. We got pretty close.
After that goes FaZe $6.30, Astralis $9, Pain $12, Liquid at $17, and then it blows out from there to LinVision being the biggest underdog at $30, paying $30 to win.
I'm honestly surprised that's not VP, but I guess fine.
VP are on par with like Heroic, GamerLegion, TYLOO, Legacy, and 3D Max, who are all paying 25 to win. So yeah.
It's interesting that Falcons are like their second highest favorite, considering they did. I mean, I guess they had that third place in EWC, but hasn't been that crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, it's going to be a fun event. It kicks off tomorrow, as mentioned.
Yeah.
Unless you're watching a different language stream, you are going to have to watch it on Kick. Someone in the chat, let me know how I get Chromecast working, because I'm going to be watching on my telly. Maybe I have to install an app, someone was saying. Maybe I have to make an account and install an app, but I like to Chromecast my counter.
Just wanted to add for the what are the odds also, if people are users of Stake and they want to like bet on this, they can get like into a giveaway for next episode. There's like 3 winners. So if you bet, you win. You get into the giveaway, random selection. 3 people win 300, 150, and 50 on Stake. So it's just like if you like Confirmed and you already use the platform, this is kind of for these people.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. All right, everybody. This has been another episode of HLTV Confirmed. This is the first one we've done where we've been streaming exclusively on Kick. So maybe you're just joining us now. It's the tail end of the episode and you missed some. You will be able to get it on Spotify or YouTube in VOD, video on demand, right? You can listen to it wherever, however you want to. But at the moment, we've got Kick and Stake as our main sponsors. We'll have more coming in upcoming weeks. We're going to be hopefully bringing back Skinionaire and maybe some other stuff in the works as well. Sorry that I lost my cool a little bit, guys. I get so passionate about the VRS and the TOR and all the acronyms, and I like to blame the teams. Anyway, have a good rest of your Thursday. Enjoy FISSURE kicking off tomorrow, and we'll be back, I don't know, next week sometime to bring you another episode of HLTV Confirmed. Good night.
Hey, big news for you HLTV Confirmed enjoyers. We've got a new sponsor, Stake. And thanks to them, our What Are the Odds segment just got a whole lot better. Now, the wagers from What Are the Odds become real limited bets on the Stake platform. Not only that, but each wager will feature a $500 lucky winner raffle. Visit the link for more details.